morning and welcome to the Highgate Selectboard meeting for September 5th, 2019. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. We'll start with public comments. Is there anyone here for public comments that is not already on the agenda? Sue?
Sharon, I just want people to be aware, yellow jackets are very bad this year. I had them in my bedroom about almost 2 weeks ago, and I need hundreds. And check your vents, check your outside, check your trees, because my neighbor, a couple of my neighbors were attacked as well. So I just want people to be aware of this. They're nasty and they're vicious this year. If you got a nest, don't fool around. I just want people, I know what I went through for the last week and a half, and it's been bad.
Okay.
And I just want people to be aware of this problem. It's very bad this year.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment?
I am right here.
Cool.
So you're not going to plow the elementary school?
No.
I made a mistake of watching your last meeting. And so, you know, and plus that is still your school, by the way. I know everybody
It is.
hates Act 46, but where do your taxes go? And what's the most important thing, most valuable thing in Highgate? It's your kids.
Hopefully.
And they go to Highgate Elementary School.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
To a point.
Oh, yeah.
To a point. This Act 46, and we got ladies coming tonight. We're going to talk about it with the ladies from Montpelier tonight, too.
I knew that.
You knew that. You knew that was coming, right?
We talked about that.
Because you know what? Our taxes have gone up. We got 37 million, and it only took 29 million to run the schools before. Where's that other 7 million? Hey, you know what's happening, Dave? I'm going to tell you what's happening.
I know I get around.
You got me up.
Yeah,
And you know what's happening, Dave? We're this little community of Highgate. I've been here 50 years this week. And I've lived on the Gore Road for 50 years. And you know what? This town, we're losing our local control.
Oh, yeah.
We're losing it all the way around. 5, 6 years ago, the best thing Swanton ever did for us is they voted down the arena for Tri-Town. Because I look at it, what we got now over there, we got better than what we would have with Swanton right now.
Well, I agree with you.
You know, that we got a great group of community members running that arena, and it's probably the best it's ever been. And you know what's going to happen? If that would have came in, now we got the schools. The next thing, let's put fire departments together. And you know what you're going to have, Dave? You're not going to have Highgate no more. You're going to have Swanagate. You know, it's going that way. We're losing our control. We can't even have our old town meeting anymore. Swan voted us out for Australian ballot. We gotta have Australian ballot now.
Yeah.
Where's it going, Dave? And I love our kids here, but we're putting our kids into a bee's nest, and it's getting worse. I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but you know, I've been thinking about it since you and I had a talk.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you too, Richard. We
Yeah.
are losing local control
Yeah.
with this Act 46 BS. And we fought it. You and I were on the same
Yeah.
school board.
Yeah.
We fought it all we could, and it's just like fighting with somebody bigger than you are. And
Right.
beat
But you
up.
can't give up, Dave.
But we didn't.
You know, you never see me give up.
But, no.
You know,
I don't wanna
you
give up
keep
on
fighting.
Highgate Elementary either.
That's right. We ain't gonna, but we're gonna keep telling those people in Montpelier that we didn't have nobody out for voting,
Well,
Dave.
I'll tell you another thing that this Act 46 did. You were complaining that they hadn't done anything to the parking lot, but they don't have any money because with the Act 46, it was delayed. So now the bond bank,
Yeah, but
because I looked into this.
the parking lot had been that way for some years.
Yeah, we never had the money. I put out, when I was on the board, and Richard.
$200,
we put out a
$300.
bond, it got shot down. So
200, $300 for a load of gravel.
And what's gonna happen to the gravel once Butch goes through with the snowplow?
Right, but
And
why
the dirt.
wreck the snowplow? Because we're
we're
What do you do
not
with-
smart enough
and
to
then what do
put
you do with the
200 bucks
gravel
in
and the
the,
grass afterwards? You put more gravel in?
same thing you're gonna do
Plow
with
it out.
with the asphalt that's in it now.
That's right. But they also, the bond bank, they have to apply, I looked into this, I asked my son-in-law, and now they have to apply for a winter bond.
Yeah.
So they don't have any money to fix that. I know you mentioned they have $37 million, but Highgate does not have $37 million.
Right, but it's not Highgate anymore, it's the Union.
Yeah, but their portion of that, they have a portion of it, you know that as well as I do.
But why is it okay to ask Highgate residents to take up that expense, but not Swantons or MBUs?
That's right.
Did
You know.
the union have money in there to plow that driveway in their budget? Did they have snow removal?
Not on board?
You know what I mean? Those are all questions, because like, we're double paying if we're paying this budget. I guarantee this budget has snow removal, lawn care, everything for all the schools.
Have you,
Guarantee it.
Have you looked into it?
I have not,
Okay.
but
I suggest you do that.
it's,
As a selectman, if you've got these questions.
Yep.
All it makes is, all it needs is a phone call, central office, talk to the finance person, manager, and she's more than happy to tell you. But you haven't done that.
She wasn't too good at answering questions when we asked at budget time.
Pardon me?
She wasn't too good at answering questions when we asked at budget time.
Well, you can get after and ask, but it's still your school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me comment here, let me break it in a little bit. Being a past selectman, we were always looking for the benefit of our town. And if David done his best, and I understand, because I was part of that when Act 46 trying to get rid of it. You know that. I spent time, days, done the same thing.
Well, same with us on the
It's right to the
school
pin, and I get that, that's what I'm telling
for
you.
years.
So what we got, we can't leave our school high and dry for the first snowstorm. So I hope that the board is on board knowing that a safety issue could be an issue of that. And if we have to plow it for a time or two before, if they do come up with some money, then I believe we should take care of that. It is our Highgate kids going there and a safety issue.
I believe it was on their agenda this week
It was.
And,
for Highgate, for plowing Highgate.
okay, so you know that
Yeah, it was listed on their agenda.
on the school agenda?
Yeah, for the Union.
I'll call tomorrow and find out if they have
Yeah,
any
no, it's
budgeted.
just, I
Because
mean,
I wanna
I'm
know.
not sticking
Good
up for
point. I will
nobody,
look
and I
into it.
understand nobody wanted, in this town, that I know of, a lot of people did not want Act 46. This is a can of worms for the Highgate citizens. And knowing that they bonded all that money together,
Well-
is pretty hard to figure out what you're getting, and we know that. So, we at
Act
least
46
have to come
happened,
around,
and-
safety of the kids, number one,
That's-
before anything goes on. If we get a snowstorm, and they don't know where they're getting their money, we damn well better be
No.
plowing that road.
So Swan Town doesn't plow.
Yeah, I understand that.
Be back at this.
And Franklin don't wanna plow theirs.
But,
It's not anybody's fault here. But with this fault, you can blame anybody you want. We
Right.
all fought against
Does-
that, and we have it.
Does
So they don't
Franklin
have to.
plow theirs, and does Swanton Town plow Swanton Elementary?
No.
No, Franklin,
They do at the moment, but they don't wanna.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's being brought up at their meeting as well.
yeah.
but if you know that, Sheriff.
I just
you
don't
know
want to pay
some
for
of these things,
a service twice.
but,
That's-
but,
bring it to us so we know.
yeah, I do agree with you, Steve. We ain't gonna leave our kids high and dry. But if we go by there and that ain't plowed, I'm gonna go get hold of Butch and we're gonna plow it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a month or so before snow flies. We got plenty of time and they got plenty of time to figure it out.
Yes,
We ain't gonna leave nobody high and dry.
we hope they do. And
Wow.
The only thing I want to comment again on, Sharon, you come off a little hard on that, on the last meeting, but if you watch it, you know, we all disagreed with what was going on, so we can't come off so hard to the Highgate citizens or Highgate school board.
This
that
has
we do
nothing
have
to
that.
do with Act 46. It has to do with, you have a highway department that has a job to do, to take care of the town's assets, which include the roads, which people, you know as well as I do, everybody wants their road first, and they all want it now. So, at this point, that property doesn't belong to the town. So, if Butch goes over and plows the driveway, say a piece of asphalt comes up, hits Mrs. X's car when she goes to drop off her children. So are they gonna sue the town? Which pulled it up with the plow. You got a liability issue. I mean, there's other factors here, just, I don't, Act 46 is nothing we can do about that at this point.
So we don't know. But I'm just
That's-
saying, I don't wanna leave our school high and dry for our kids.
Nobody wants to,
Safety.
nobody wants to leave
And I
our
just want that
children.
stated, so you understand.
No one wants to put our
As
kids in
select-
danger.
It appeared that way by watching that,
Yeah.
your last performance there.
And I want to apologize for missing the last, I think, 3, maybe 4 meetings. I'm doing a huge renovation at my house and I've been working on that. I know that's no excuse, but I really want to apologize. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I missed whatever happened.
I know your dad's been over quite a few times.
I know, I'm very sorry. I just, when I get free help, I gotta take advantage.
That's what he said.
That's, it is what it is. I'm
I
sorry.
went and checked out, make sure you weren't late.
I'm not lying. I think Richard stopped in, Steve stopped in.
As far as the school being notified, after our last Thursday meeting 2 weeks ago, I came in Friday and went and talked to the director at school and let him know what our vote was. I don't know if you called him too, but, so they did know what was going on, so they could budget for it.
I would have to guess it's budgeted in there. I mean, I'm going to call and find out, but I would have to. I'm sure they looked at each school, landscaping, mowing, plowing, whatever, budget done, move on. But I'd have to think that. I mean, I'll look, but
And I brought it up.
I wish we had a whole budget we could look at each line item, and then you could say, oh, well, I got
2 weeks ago was brought
She'll
up
print you one out.
for the reason that
You will?
I don't
Sure
plow
will.
any businesses in town or
Right.
anything that's not town-owned, so that's what my concern there too.
It's just a lot of
And,
things that Act 46 didn't think of that is creating these problems for our local people.
Yeah, I don't think
Because,
that's out of much.
well.
so they just
that's
throw
how I
out
look.
37 million and say that should cover
That
everything.
should be stated, not, where they understand that. Trucking kids in another zone that always went closer to an area was always intelligent, and now you gotta move things around. And I mean, even to plow that, for that, where are they coming from? You know, Swanton coming all the way up here, it's MVU, I mean, when they're plowing, I mean, who's bringing it? Who's bringing on the plows? Where are they coming from and what are they doing, you know?
I'm sure they put it out the bid and hire a contractor to
Bids.
plow it, just like
That's what
everything
I'm
else.
saying. Well, you'd think that bid be out by now, if you're getting this close to winter.
Yeah.
I've been here 16 years and it's been neglected 15, so there's been no rush to get anything done.
Right.
And that's another part of the decision too, was it's so rough that we are breaking.
A lot of them wear that for when I was a selectman as well, and I get that.
But we tried though, we tried to do something there, you know, and we get voted down
Somebody
or,
else's road behind
yeah.
because we're taking care of that.
Well, we tried to get it done. We put out a bond and we get shot down, and we tried to get the money some other places with grants and stuff, and that got shot down. It's not like we didn't, when I was on the board, and Richard, we didn't try to get it done. It just, and now same with this board, with this Act 46 stalled the bond banks, and now they wouldn't give them any money because of this Act 46 and stalled everything else. And you can ask the chairman of the school board, he'll tell you the same thing. That's what he told me. But I said, where the heck's going on? So they have to reapply. Now it's a different entity, you might say. So they're up the creek.
So David, I apologize if my performance bothered you. I do
Well,
feel very
I wasn't the
strongly
only one.
about the school system.
Several people had commented as well.
They're welcome to approach me anytime.
It wasn't that pleasant anyway. I said, well, all you can do is go say something, but the other people didn't show up.
Well, if you want to keep talking about plowing, Mr. Poulin is here. He has comments. about plowing.
This is a good segue. Butch, you are the man of the hour here. My name's Tammy Brown. This is my husband, John Poulin, and we have a camp on Platte Road. And we have some kind of a problem anyway with the plowing. Hi, Josh, I think.
He spoke, yeah.
My husband's emailed you.
Yep.
I have brought some pictures.
Yeah, I was just gonna pull up Google Maps. But.
Yes, we went out to, in the winter, like in January, you guys can pass them around. The ones that are dog-eared are the ones from the winter. The other ones were taken in the spring, just to show you what happened to the fence and everything. But we redid up the driveway last fall, and we had Butch come up and showed them, because we were aware that in the past, when other people have owned it, that I guess there was an arrangement to just plow everything into that particular driveway.
It's convenient. 'Cause it's right
It's
there.
near the end of the road. It's not the end of the road, but it's close. And so we showed Butch, because whoever has done it in the past, it was really ripped up the driveway. We just put stone in and everything. We didn't want that. So Butch came up, we had a nice talk, he understood, he said he'd do his best. We talked about with the neighbors where it might go, and then my husband also put up a snow fence with some metal bars, just as a reminder. And we went up in January or February, I think, to prune a forsythia. And it was, I mean, we couldn't get in the driveway, we had to park on the road. And it was just, you know, you'll see the pictures, the fence, it's all mangled, the steel. And so, I think then, did you talk to Butch?
Yes, I did.
Butch, you can chime in. We weren't sure if the town had done it, or if the tolls across the street, they were involved with wanting the
Right.
snow removed and, I guess, directing where it went. And we got conflicting stories.
There's conflicting stories.
The town thought, Butch checked with his guys, and they didn't seem to think that they had, done all of that. And then we asked Tiffany and Jeff, and said, who's your plow guy, because we'd like to talk to him. And they said they don't have a plow guy, that the town plows their driveway, and that they did this because that's the way it's always been done. And we don't want to have to re-stone our driveway every year. We don't, we did spend money on that fence, and then all that snow melted and the driveway couldn't absorb it all. And the insulation in our basement we had just put in, it all got saturated. We had to rip that out in the spring. And we just want to try to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And we're kind of trying to figure out how it was that our driveway was designated as like the dumping ground for the whole street.
If there had been a fire, the fire department would have had a hard time getting in there.
So, Butch?
Well, I'll take it back to when, year before last, we had the problem, we came in the spring, and it was looked at, and I spoke with them, and I spoke with my personnel, and tried to come up with a plan that they didn't do that, and to the best of my knowledge, it was being taken care of, but the thought that my man did it anyways, I couldn't believe that he would. And because the last winter, they put the fence up and the things, and...
And you had come out in the fall, we talked.
Yes, and I thought it was going good, then all of a sudden in the middle of winter, I get a call that it was all piled up, and I went down, I removed it with the backhoe, and took care of it, and talked to the tolls next door, and they said it would be all right to dump the snow before their place, which...
Is the problem we're going down there with a tandem and the road's too narrow?
No, their house is basically in the road.
Who, our house?
I mean, you can't
So isn't the Toll's driveway, by the way?
Right, yeah, I know, I know.
Driveway is
but
actually
it's-
part of the.
We're driving in, and we can, there is no turnaround on this road. We're driving in, and if we went by their house, it would probably break the windows if we pushed the snow, you know, I mean, because there's no place.
Right.
And then past it is the.
Why don't you just put it at the end of the road? Because it's all
Well,
closed for the winter, right?
no.
It's, the snow is gonna, it's gonna be a bigger mess on your house, I'm afraid, because there's no place.
The wings, the way the plow was, all the snow's going to the right. That's the way they can't angle their plows.
Hedges and the road, I'm not sure
Also
on the
goes
width,
to the right.
but
All the
Okay,
snow.
but
also
why,
goes to the right.
but there are two driveways right next to each other. One was ours, which was all redone, and the other one, they haven't done it yet, the new owners, and it's a mess, but it was all in our driveway. And the fence, you can see, it's mangled.
I don't.
But did the town do it, or did somebody
Well,
privately
that
do
was
it?
where it all,
Which one's Jeff's
came
house?
to a head, that
I don't know.
I was upset with my personnel for doing it.
Right.
And then he finds out that it wasn't, we don't plow Jeff Paul's driveway, we go straight in, and we don't plow nobody's
Okay,
driveway.
they told us the town plows, we
And
asked who their plow guy
We had
was.
heard that the plow driver there laughed about doing it, so that's when I.
The plow
informed
driver
you.
laughed about doing it?
Not our plow.
No, our driver, no,
Oh.
the one,
The private
the
plow.
private plow driver. Laughed about doing it,
well-
because I had spoke with my man, and I'd hoped that he wouldn't do something like that, you know? But it's, then when he
Well,
heard
it was a lot of snow, it wasn't like it was just once either, it was.
And I can say, I do have a picture from earlier in the winter
Could,
at a prior storm.
could you come up here real quick, or one of you guys, and just take a look at this Google Maps photo to show us which property's yours and, sorry. I just want to get I haven't driven down there yet.
Okay, so this is our camp right here,
Okay,
and this is Jeff Toll's house.
okay, that's what,
And the road is kind of stops right there.
okay. So Jeff's,
There's no turnaround there, Butch?
No, we have to drive in and back out. They've done that for years.
But Butch, can you just put it at the end of the road?
No, I don't.
There is no,
I mean,
No.
if we're
Yeah.
afraid no more damage by going by your house. I mean, he's already probably halfway by.
It's no reason.
Well,
Right.
This guy's
already
property, but that ain't fair to
seems
anyone.
completely off, did you see that? That they're mostly on the neighbors, but they were really upset about it, they said, and they did, they butchered them, they're
I
gonna.
don't think, we're definitely not plowing Jeff's, because Jeff's driveway is nice and long, right?
No,
It wraps
Jeff's
around.
driveway is in the road.
Oh, that's not it right there, it runs around?
Well, I don't know, I can't see from here, but.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I think we stopped.
That's not Jeff's driveway there, that curve.
because
No.
it would push
Or
it off.
where is
So
this?
this is your camp, this is Jeff's camp, according to your
it
husband.
looks like you guys did exactly that.
No, that's our camp. That
And
is
this is
brown.
Jeff's,
Winter went
That's
on.
Jeff's.
and that's his driveway
No,
there.
that is not, that's his sidewalk.
Okay, so his
His
driveway's right
driveway
here.
is carved right out of the
It was
road,
all
right there.
busted.
Okay.
And so they told us that when the plow comes to do the road, they also do his driveway. Because we wanted to talk to their plow guy, and after we talked to Butch, and they said they don't have a plow guy, it's the town that does it.
Yeah, no, Butch told me that it was their plow guy who did it.
So then, where are, kind of like it's, one,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, so who really did do it?
yeah.
You know?
owns a house
So what's
that's right
the
on the
answer?
hill at the end of the
So,
road.
Butch,
And Mike and Dave Vance
is there any
own
place to
property
put
down
the
on
snow?
beach, and they go down there during the winter.
There, yes, it
You're
was,
right.
like John said, it
You're
was
right.
being taken care of the early part of the winter. It was being taken care of. Then when Nick showed up and the fence was all busted down and everything, he continued to go back to where he was putting it before, you know, in your driveway.
So where do you put the snow before?
It-
Where was, where,
in that driveway. It's been as long as I've been here, I guess it worked my rule, but
well, I mean, I get what they're saying, and it's not, that's not fair, that's not,
acceptable.
no, I agree.
And if you want to put it in our driveway, you go ahead, but I expect a reduction in my taxes because of that.
it has to go somewhere.
Has to go somewhere.
Well,
There was a, you know, we.
I mean, that road just doesn't look big enough to put
For a
a,
tax reduction.
the road just doesn't look big enough to put a plow truck down.
No, it's, I don't know how it ever become a town road.
I mean, it's a camp road, it's not really a town road.
So it's gotta be at least 2 broad. In actuality, that same road, we have a hard time when we get a fire call through there. That is a,
Well, Butch, if it's hedges and they're in our right of way,
But the house is right.
I'm just saying, you know, if
Right.
if we can't put the snow where we need to, and the hedges are blocking us from putting snow where we need to, because they're in our right of way. I don't know, I'm trying to find a
I don't
compromise.
think that's all, because like someone was saying, Mike Vanslet likes to go down there to his camp.
That's why we
And that's
stopped.
why you
I
can't
think we
at the end of the
stopped putting it in
road.
the middle of just stopping right up, blocking the road, you know? We kind of started tucking it off.
What do you guys think?
Now
It's
it's,
a tight area to get down there.
I don't know if there's any space on Chad Tyler's.
he had come to a conclusion with Jeff Dole and
Yeah, I know.
with these guys that
That's
we
Jeff's.
stopped before Jeff's
Then put the
driveway.
snow
Oh,
where
that's the new one.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, but we go to this turn right
It
here,
is,
it's a
it
right
is.
angle turn, that's Chad Tyler's right there.
But
And you come
don't,
down here, and that's Mike Vanslet's.
we can't get around that with our truck, because those hedges and that tree, we can't get.
The
this-
hedges are in the right of way, the
Right,
tree
and that-
might be in the right of way.
Right.
There, I don't know what you've got right here on this corner.
How many houses we got down there?
But
It's a class,
it's
And now it's all,
class
Beyond
three.
them, it'd be like
yeah.
one house and
just
one
seeing we have no
house.
problems or.
But Tyler's place is pretty much a house.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So we have
Jeff Toll's across the road.
your summer resident, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And Mike is using it as a summer residence as
I
well?
think Mike has it as a summer residence.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
the-
the Vanslets go down there.
But they do
all
go
winter.
down.
They do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the Toll's house is lived in
That's year
permanently.
round, yeah.
That's a hard one, Butch.
Yes, because
And of course, last year we got extra snow, so
there's
it,
4 full-time
Well, maybe
residents.
you can pick one driveway each snowstorm.
But keep in mind,
I don't know, but I'm gonna count them.
if you got rid of, if that tree in our right of way and that's in our right of way, could you make that corner with your truck and push it down here? If you got rid of that.
Where's their house?
This is their house, this is where we've been putting the snow.
Okay, yeah.
If you get rid of that and that, can you get around there?
Yeah, we want to
No.
keep it nice.
No, because even, well, but
If
then
this is-
then you're putting it right.
Or no, you
These
just
places
keep
are so
going.
close
Yep.
that the wing would hit the house. If you tried to get through there,
If you got rid of that tree and those
fence,
hedges,
it's all fence on the
if
other
it's
side of the
if it's in
road.
our right of way,
Jeff and Tiffany.
I'm just trying to say, you know what, I agree with them, we can't put it there, but if all this shit's in our right
I don't know
of
why
way,
they did that, but.
we make it not in our right of way, and
We can't,
put snow
it
down
starts
there.
going
I went down there
down,
last-
you know, it starts dropping
Had
off
to turn
here
around,
to go down.
So like,
We don't wanna
yeah, I know, it's free for
go down
all.
there, you know. I mean, this is quite a hill right here. I never go down that hill. Can't hardly get up there.
then,
See, this is where,
Back to a private road?
that's Jeff's house.
You have to have full agreement now. Okay, let's have some kind of order here.
Trying to do
Ty,
the
what
best
you
he
got?
could to keep the end of his driveway open. But where this red vehicle is, that's where
Yep.
Nick was put.
Put it back to a private road.
I want to make a motion that we table this
Yep.
till the next meeting.
Okay. Butch, we'll let you do a little investigation.
I'll go for a ride with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we straighten it out by snowball.
I'd like to go on that ride with you.
Okay. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Any other public comments? Okay. Thank you for coming. We'll do our best to see if we can come to a agreeable solution.
Thank you.
So we have geodesign here, and we have Jacob Wimet.
Yep.
Okay, and he's here to talk to us about the transfer station slope stabilization plan.
Okay,
It's like a lot of areas.
yeah, this is an older plan. I guess before I jump right into it, we have a lot of information, a lot of doc. Have you guys seen any of this yet, or is this kind of first time?
I'll through it a little bit.
Okay, first time. So start big.
Yes.
Okay. So this was from a preliminary look through at some of the slope issues at the transfer station property. When FEMA was first getting involved, identifying areas, and selecting ones to focus on. So this is just kind of a map showing the areas of concern that were identified in these earlier phases. Our involvement in this scope of work was to focus on high priority areas, which were identified as things involving integral ground. So if the slope continues to fail, you're looking at the loss of roads, facilities, structures, the landfill. And those areas identified as most critical were Area E, this area in red. It's very close to this landfill. What was referred to as Site 1, which was endangering the salt shed, and generally some drainage or some stream improvements in these areas to improve the flow of the stream so it's not undercutting the toe, creating more slope instability, and some overall drainage that we might be able to at least look at what we could do. So that was the scope of this project right now. It's really not looking at every one of these areas. It's focusing on the ones that were identified as being the most endangering to the property. From there, I'm going to just jump. A lot of this is technical background that isn't needed at this point. So these are our sections we're looking at in general. I'm sorry I missed this one. This was another high priority area. We started with a couple soil borings. So there's a boring here and a boring here. And that's just, we're drilling a hole in the ground, taking a bunch of samples that we run some lab testing on. We can get the strength of the soils and we can determine what kind of problem you're having. When you look at these, they look like superficial issues. That's a lot of slope failures you'll see. You'll go out there, you look, it's like, oh yeah, it's just calving off the side, going down the hill. Looks like an easy repair. Not always the case. Sometimes you have deeper seated soft soil issues that are also a driving factor where even if that's not what's failing at the moment, if you do a repair improperly, you could actually cause a much bigger problem. So that's part of what we're looking for. And then from getting this data, we cut sections through here just so we can analyze, essentially taking a slice through the ground to the geometry going through here so we can come up with how stable is it, and if it's not stable, what type of repairs are we looking at. So these three sections we look at, I'll kind of go backwards. We'll start with this one. This area right here, we had some preliminary involvement in back in 2013, I believe. And at the time, we had recommended an initial idea to just lay it back, put some riprap on the surface, and then we can look at it deeper in a more final design analysis, which is essentially right now. These two had no analysis, no work done yet. So the next thing we do is we run a slope stability model on each one of these. And so essentially what we're looking at is factors of safety in the slope. And all that is you sum up all the forces wanting to push this down and all the forces pushing back, holding it up. So it's based on the strength parameters of the soil, your groundwater, your geometry, all those things will affect it. So that's what we're looking at. Any sort of reasonable engineering design, we're generally looking at a factor of safety of 1.3. So that means you want 30% more resisting forces than you do driving forces to consider a stable design or a stable slope. If you're talking about a building that's like inhabited, we would usually shoot that up to like a factor of safety of 1.5 because it's a more critical type structure. For this, we felt 1.3 was a reasonable factor of safety to look at. So starting at the one that some preliminary work had been performed. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. This was our stability analysis. So we looked at what had already been done and the new soil boring we got, and we came up with the factor of safety. It shows 1.265. Now these aren't, that's just the way that the model spits it out. Generally, they're only accurate to 1 decimal point. That's a factor of safety of 1.3. We wouldn't recommend spending the money to do any more repair on this. For all intents and purposes, it's stable. It's unlikely that it's going to have more issues. Now the next two we have.
I'm sorry, could you just say which area that one is? again?
This one is this section right here. Previously, the head of the slope was, I wish these text things didn't pop up. Here. Previously, the slope kind of went like this, and that's when it failed. So in 2013, he dug that out and also dug out a lot of the top of the slope to flatten it. By flattening, you take a lot of the weight off the head of that slope, put some riprap in there to prevent erosion, and by doing so, you made it more stable. So it had failed. You got some of the failure surface out, you laid the head back, you made it more stable. We did an analysis now that we have some boring data on either side of it and can reasonably interpolate based on how similar the soil conditions were. It's unlikely if it's the same here as here, generally, it's gonna be about the same there. We came up with what has already been done since that failure should be sufficient. So that's an area we weren't recommending any future repairs. The next area we're going to look at is this one near the salt shed, and this one near the existing landfill. So they can be a little hard to see because what this program does is so it looks at thousands of possible failure surfaces and assigns them a factor of safety. So you can see here, like what it will shoot out right here, this is showing your lowest factor of safety. So that's where you're seeing that 0.84. So what that means is that there's more force driving it to fail than resisting it, and it makes sense. If you go out to this, it's a vertical face and it's constantly falling off. So it's an active failure. That's why you're seeing this 0.84. So what we're looking at here is we're trying to see, okay, we know this is unstable right here because you look at it and you can see it is failing, it's not stable. Do you have any issues back here? And that's where we are finding there's some pretty significant deep surfaces that are less than a factor of safety of 1.3. So this is showing anything less than a factor of safety of 1.3, and those extend behind the corner of your sand sheds right about here. So when you start to look at these colors, it's easier when you actually have the computer program. You can select individual ones. You're actually having factors of safety that are right around, this green area, right around 1, which means just as we're looking at it, at the soil conditions right now, the groundwater conditions right now, it's like in equilibrium. So any little thing could cause it to fail, or any little variation in the strength parameters that we get from our lab testing, the soil testing we do in the field. If any of those vary a little bit, it could fail. So that's why generally a factor of safety 1 we don't like to see, because even though it says, oh, it's stable right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it truly is stable. Any slight variation in the analysis, in the groundwater condition, freeze-thaw cycle, could cause that to become unstable. So this is one that would certainly be looked at for repair. And the third one is the landfill. So again here, this is the roadway that goes around the landfill. This is the landfill itself. All these red surfaces you see are active failure planes. And that's, again, I've walked this slope, you look at it, you can see it's actively failing. There's active slides going on that are continuing into the road. So what this tells me is that that road, it could be a few days, it could be 10 years from now, it's unstable, and I would expect it is going to fail. And these are all superficial failures. But again, we're seeing these deep-seated failures that extend back into the landfill. again, right around just barely stable, or none of them, based on the deterministic, again, that's like if the numbers we put into this program were spot dead on, it would be right at equilibrium. So that's what we're finding is that, again, factors of safety, 1.3, extend well beyond the back end of the landfill. That's saying essentially the whole landfill area is in danger of failing down the slope without a repair. The next thing we do is we look at repair options. We had come up with the typical stone fill type solution. Those are generally the cheapest type of solution. There's lots of other things you could do with, sheeting, tiebacks, launch soil nails. They generally, not always, but usually are more expensive. So the solution we chose to look at for this one is generally what would be, especially for this area where we do have resources and rock quarries and such, the type of repair that would generally be the cheapest. Now, a lot of times when you will do just a superficial failure, like for example, if this area right here was really the only area we're looking at for concern, you could focus a solution that would like add some stone like in this type of area and solve the problem. The issue with that is now if you have deeper surfaces, adding stone just to this area actually makes these factors of safety go down. If you picture this kind of like a seesaw that's sticking up in the air, and you put more weight on the top of the seesaw, the bottom end wants to come up, and this whole kind of circle goes all along with it for the ride. So that's what you see sometimes when you see repairs that have been done that fail. What will happen a lot of times is they didn't analyze the true, they looked at just what we call like the local problem instead of the global problem. And so they fixed the problem right here, would have caused a problem where now you have a much bigger issue that you're looking at. So we went through, came up with the volume of stones necessary to essentially build this out, and it comes up to be quite a big amount of stone you would need. Something I probably should have shown is where it really drove us to this. When you first look at it, like I said, you're looking at, it looks like a superficial failure. These are our boring logs for when we actually drill at the crest of these slopes. And where we're starting with is these silty sands. And these numbers we call N values. So what that is it's a sampler that we have that's a calibrated size, and a 140-pound hammer that drops 30 inches. We count the number of whacks it takes to drive it in these 6-inch intervals. And it's relatively crude, but there's been a lot of, and this is kind of like the standard of geotechnical engineering where it's kind of started. There's a lot of correlations between this and soil strength. So you get through these silty sands, which is where you can see the failures on the surface, and it's underlain by a soft clay. The issue is once you start to get into these clay, it's so soft in areas. What this means, the WOH is, we're not even driving with the hammer. We set our tooling on the ground in the hole, and it starts sinking under its own weight. It's that soft. And that's where we are getting a lot of the problems with. There's actually, it's beyond just what you're seeing at the surface. There's a pretty deep issue here where any sort of loading you would do to just fix the head, you're looking at causing a much bigger problem. From there, we get to big picture, the design. So we're looking at, in general, it's these areas. Here's the landfill. Here's the salt shed. And these are the failure areas. There's one failure right here, and there's another failure right here.
That's roughly how many feet?
I can tell you, I can zoom right in on it. They're both about 100 feet high. And we do have some stationing here, so this one's roughly 300, 350 feet. And this one, I guess, and this actual failure extent is here, about 150 here. So this one, the actual failure extent, maybe a little bit less. Now that's pretty close to 350. or I'm sorry, 250. 250 for the actual fair extent.
So what is the fix and
Filling in a lot of stone,
what is the cost?
substantial.
You don't wanna know.
Yeah. Here's,
I mean, I'm not trying to, I mean,
Yep.
it sounds like it's doom and gloom over there and we got a lot of shit to do,
Somewhat.
excuse my language, but
yep.
I don't know.
No, it's a good way to put, I was trying to give some background here. So
It
Here's
looks
like
like we
a
gotta
thicker
do something,
part, yeah.
otherwise we're gonna lose a
essentially you
landfill.
got this big bowl and you gotta fill it in with stone. Because if anything you do to fix up here, again, you have to add down here to counteract the
Yep.
seesaw.
Absolutely.
So if you look at it, these are 10-foot boxes, that's a lot of stone going in that belly.
Oh, I guess so.
And it's all due to how incredibly weak that clay is in the lower half. We generally drew that line, so this dividing line right here, this is here in those sands, this is in here, all below here is those
Could-
weak clays.
Could those steel pilings be driven there? Is that cheaper than that much
They possibly
rock?
could, we have not looked at that yet. You know, we were scoped to pick one and run with it.
Yeah,
It would be a whole nother analysis to look at something different.
I mean, that's a lot of stone.
It is, you know, there's other possibilities, you know, we could look at, it's just, it wasn't in the scope right now. So there, you could look at piles and sheeting, again, my gut is it would still be a quite substantial repair.
Well, yeah, you're talking 500 feet, you said, 300,
Yeah, and
100 something?
we talked internally, again, without doing a full month's analysis, and my gut tells me you're probably looking at not getting much of an improvement cost-wise. So that's where it comes down to, is what you want to submit to FEMA for funding, because my understanding, I don't know if Lauren was able to make it, I mean, was once you submit it to FEMA, they approve it, you got to go through with it, and at that point, you're on the hook for, I think, 25% of the costs. They would fund 75, you have to do the other 25.
So what are we talking here?
That's-
5 million, 3 million, a million?
You're right around there.
I mean, it's a lot of stone.
So we had a firm, Cross Consulting Engineers, do the opinion of probable cost. So for the one at the sand shed, it was $913,000. And again, we're not contractors, we might get a very different bid. This was our estimates based on construction experience, doing similar type work. What us and them.
Hopefully get a few big businesses moving to town.
So,
This is just for the sand shed.
No, I know.
This is one slide. This is the smaller one. Yeah.
so you say FEMA, now it isn't even guaranteed that they'll help us out, right?
No, it's not.
So
There's
we,
probably more funds available if it just slides.
And the other option for this one, you know, I've brought up is you can look at the cost of
Moving or sand
moving
shed?
the sand shed. You know, I mean, so with this, you figure you're on the hook for around $250,000. Can you just build a new sand shed for that? It's an option, you know? The next one is more tricky, and that is,
Sand weighs a lot, do a big pile of sand right there on the bank.
yeah, the next one is the much bigger slide, and that's at the landfill, 1.9 million. You know, it's almost double the
Can you repeat
size.
that, please?
1.9 million was the estimate for the failure at the landfill. So it's almost double the size, it's roughly double the cost.
Go ahead.
I'm too young to remember the landfill being open.
I remember it. I'm not much older than you. God.
But how big is the hole? I see the pile on top. How big is the hole below? Because I'm sure it's an iceberg.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I just remember going to Pepe.
How deep, Richard, would you estimate that hole went down?
Some of those ravines were 50 or 75 feet. Easy.
Do we just fill the rest of the ravine?
Yeah, that'll cost us more.
Not with trash.
Pushed around, made a flat spot, and the flat spot started moving.
We were talking about in the landfill itself though, right?
The landfill at one time was just quite a bit of ravine,
Okay.
bulldozed in.
Yeah.
But where you are, I'm guessing it's landfill and where you're taking the samples are very close to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
Within
I
feet,
can
how
tell you,
big?
we didn't get,
30 feet probably.
we actually had that, where we drilled, even though it was between the landfill and the slope, we weren't catching any old landfill bits, we were in regular ground. So any part of the landfill in that area anyway wasn't extended to the bank.
Okay.
At least, and we drilled relatively central location. I can show you again where we drilled.
Now, that section 3 that you're talking about now, was that the section that had been repaired once?
This section had been repaired, sorry. This section had been repaired once, and that's the one that's stable. This section, the two that we're giving costs for, have had 0 repairs done for them. So it's this one, and as you can see, it's quite close to the edge of the landfill. And this one, that is close to the edge of this thing.
Yeah.
There is no active slide on that one, that big one now, though.
There is.
There is.
There is. It's mostly superficial. And that's what this was showing. And this generally matches.
The one that comes up closest to the road where the
Yep.
The back side.
back gate.
Yeah. So for example, so here, this is the landfill. And this is, we took it right from the topographic survey that was done. This is your road.
Right now, right?
This is the road right here, and that's the slope
Stop
going
right
down.
in the back of the started.
So anything you see in red, we're coming up with driving forces that are greater than what's resisting it. And that matches when you go out there, you can see fresh areas of constant sliding, there's water seeping out of it, there's soil unraveling, and as you get up here, right where we took our section, there wasn't exactly a vertical head wall because we went right through the boring. But in other areas, it was relatively vertical right at the edge of the road where it's kind of been calving off. And it makes sense. And what we would expect is over time, it would continue, it would eventually take the road and start to eat away into the landfill. Now, some of these superficial ones, not as bad. If one of these bigger ones go, that's where it is like a huge event. You know, and that's part of this other thing is we would have to justify to FEMA, is this even worth, you know, fixing it? And part of it is what would be the repairs be if you did nothing? And so that was this next document. What we had to do to just kind of estimate that is, as I described before, these were, it's up here what we call deterministic factors of safety. So as if we put everything in exactly perfect. If the groundwater was always here, and this is, you know, where we assume the groundwater table, it doesn't change. If we were perfect on all of our strength parameters, you know, we do lab testing, but real world, nothing is perfect. You know, these are just tests, they're approximations, and you take 2 tests, 3 tests, and a 150-foot profile, you don't know what's between it. So what we do is we run a probabilistic analysis based on how accurate the actual engineering computations we have available to us are. What's the reasonable variation in strength that we could see happening? What's the reasonable variation in the weight of the soil we could see happening? What's the reasonable variation in the water table we could see happening? So we vary all of those things. So our strength that's based on what's called the soil friction angle. We assume anything, you know, we're within 3 degrees of what we assumed. We said it could be realistic that you could see between where we took our test. Just based on the soil type, it could vary 3 degrees. The unit weight of the soil, we vary this by, we said, let's say it could go up or down 5 pounds per cubic foot. You know, areas it's a little tighter, areas it's a little looser. Some areas have more clay, some areas have more silt. It's going to vary the weight a little bit. And then we vary the water table. And those we chose based on the water table is unlikely to be any lower than the top of the clay. And we did that based on some testing on the clay phase relationships. We pretty much showed the clay that is there is 100% saturated. So I don't see the water ever being deeper than where the top of the clay is. And for the high water table, we used reading historic reports. There's one done by George Springston in 2010 where he took some groundwater measurements. They were quite high. So we used that as the upper boundary for the water table. And then to make sure we weren't looking at extremes, we do one standard deviation from all these. So we look at what, pretty much it's where you're most likely to be. It's like the 2/3 of possible ranges. We only look in there, so we're not looking at the Armageddon situation or the situation that's going to say it's never going to be a problem, because those are unrealistic to happen. And what we come up with is a probability of failure of 40%. So what that's saying is this is showing it's stable now, roughly a 40% probability that you're going to have a failure go through the landfill. At which point there's, the road's gone and you have a massive environmental cleanup on your hands. To put that into context, when you design something, a slope like this, and you design a solution to it, the probability of failure is generally less than 1%. So this is something I would consider quite unstable. Something we would certainly never design to.
So 40% is a probability, but in what kind of time frame?
That's the thing, you never know.
You could get a lot of rain
Yep,
and
it could be
saturate
wet.
it, and
It could be,
next week it could be
there's
100
almost
years.
no way to predict this.
It depends on the environment, right?
It does. It's something, if I could figure out a way to tell you that, I'd become a very rich man. Because nobody's figured it out yet. Unfortunately, we can't. It's just, this is, with the best tools we have,
Too many variables.
it is. Unfortunately, you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars analyzing this and still end up with, well, we can't quite exactly tell you. So that's where we are with this. And as far as that, the cost associated with if a failure were to occur through the landfill, we come up with, you're talking on the order of $7 million just to repair it back to, and this was getting numbers associated with rebuilding the road, some numbers from the state with regards to putting the landfill back together, recapping it. What this doesn't include is any sort of environmental cleanup, because that again would be an unknown. None of us really know what's in there or how far it would go down the slope, if it would end up in the stream.
It was mostly a
you'd have to
compost
clean it.
hill.
So any sort of environmental cleanup associated with that would be in addition to this. So this is the cost to essentially build back what was there and then repair it at that point, because what was there was unstable. You still would need to add something to it to shore it up. So this is the number we came up with that. For what you put to FEMA, it's actually, we don't just throw this whole number in, we take 40% of it because we came up with it. Well, there's a 40% chance it's gonna fail. And we're still coming up with doing the repair now is cheaper than the cost associated with a 40% chance of this actually happening.
And the reason the town is concerned about this is because we have a legal obligation for the safety of that landfill. It's our responsibility to take care of that since we had an open landfill. So it's not like it's something we can say, we won't worry about it, because we're legally liable for that.
Question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you identify the area for us that we were looking at our last meeting? Maybe Sharon can, as far as a repair that was suffering some further damage?
Yeah, so you have a failure that was considered part of the solution or part of what we were going to use for a solution.
It's over in the corner.
That's another part, it's right here,
Yeah.
we bubbled on the plan. So, there's one area where you can put water on the site. So this wasn't for my part of the scope, this was cross-consulting engineers, but I can speak relatively knowledgeable about how they added these drainage swales along the crest, along this side of the site to prevent water from going over it. And that's what we feel is really driving some of the superficial failures you're having, and putting it into the catch basins you have here and down the slope. This area was previously repaired. I'm not sure how it was done, but it has since failed while we were actually putting these plans together and has damaged this portion of the pipe. So before our repair could come in, this area would have to be repaired or a different drainage concept would have to come up. It wouldn't affect, the stoning here, but it certainly affects the drainage that was planned as part of the project.
So the swales that they had put in to try to redirect the water are actually harming us at this point? Is that what you're saying?
Not if this was functioning. The problem is, right now it would go to a grate that goes to a pipe that goes to nowhere. Because this slid. It was a previous area that had slid. I know there was some stone on it. We had looked at it again in the preliminary phase. We had some concerns with it. We couldn't see that there was a filter put down. We call it, it's just essentially a sand grading into gravel so that you weren't losing material through your stone. I don't know how it caused, but that was one concern that we had. It could have been there, just looking at the surface, we couldn't see any. But for this scope, we had assumed it had been repaired, but it obviously has failed since.
Might be the leak in creating the water to wash underneath the stone, or it slid and pulled the pipe apart?
Yeah, what I've gathered is it was actually the stone above slid and then took the pipe with it. I actually have not seen this myself since it has failed. I saw it before the failure.
Yes.
So Richard had brought up a point, is can we increase our or decrease our probability by doing things like keeping the loaded trucks off that road?
Not really.
No.
I can say
Okay.
because that was an idea we had.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, that's what that is, 250 pounds per square foot.
Right.
We can toggle that off and on. That represents a truck. It does next to nothing.
So it doesn't make any difference?
Not really.
Does it increase the probability, increase the time frame of when the probability of the fail's gonna happen?
It's, to me,
I couldn't
to me,
really-
it's,
Time bomb, I would think.
Yeah.
to me, it's water saturation. The more water you get behind it,
Push it.
And unfortunately, there's really not much you can do about it. I mean, you could, I guess, look in some sort of like deep pumps or relief wells, but again, you're talking, it's not gonna be much cheaper.
Right.
Than we're talking about here.
And then on the slope where this slope is pretty non-vegetative, is my understanding by looking
Yeah.
at it. But over by the sand shed, it looks like we still have a lot of
Pine
trees.
trees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would we have any advantage to cutting some of that off to release some of the pressure?
No,
No, same problem.
unfortunately, a lot of these, well, you'll see like where it's not vegetated
Yeah.
right now, it's because it's failed. A lot of these areas, and again, I haven't looked at specifically next to it right now, we've mostly focused on the failures. You'll see they're extremely steep, and you would generally, if you ran a model, it would come up being unstable. Tree roots, actually, a lot of the over steep slopes you see in and around Vermont are only standing because of the tree roots. They're actually holding it up. So
no,
cutting some
I
of the
think
trees.
Sharon's saying is tree roots are good, but if you
Yeah.
take the weight of the tree off of it, the roots would still stay there, but the weight of the tree is gone
Generally, you take the tree, the roots are eventually going to go to.
eventually.
You don't have, some of those trees down there
Yeah.
are
Huge.
5 to 10 ton trees.
Yeah,
With
sure.
the wind
Some of
going,
them,
you can't tell me it don't
Yeah.
move the bank.
no, well, some of them you could. I'd say it'd be more likely if you could also lay it back, rub it, put some kind of erosion, and that's essentially what you did on the one that was, we looked at that was previously repaired. Without being able to lay it back, it's still gonna go. You might buy yourself a little bit of time,
Right.
but you also might make it worse long term.
All right. Sounds fun.
So, for us, what you're feeling that the stone is our best option?
I would say so. I mean, you could spend more money to look at other options. I can't guarantee that there isn't one that's better. This is the one that, knowing any type of analysis you do is expensive, we thought that this is gonna be the most practical. So I don't have as detailed costs for any other one, but I would say if it were me, this is the solution I would pursue. But again, I know it's a big funding push, that's why it's trying to give it to you what.
No, unfortunately, this is
What
just
the science
the
shows.
second
Yeah.
major erosion we have in town that is in
Yeah.
the millions of dollars, and it is a problem.
Steep slopes underlain by soft clays.
Yeah.
They're not good.
In a river.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
So I think what geodesign would need is for the select board to direct which areas you want to apply to FEMA for funding for.
None yet.
Yeah, there's gonna be some
I would
budgeting.
think that's your slide that we're talking about, but the dump would be the one to direct anything that would be the major concern, wouldn't it? Not so much the shed.
Right. Ty?
So, on the FEMA thing, I know when the FEMA project fixed the railroad bed between 78 and Therian,
Yeah.
there was another side slope that was washing out, and the contractors knew that that would fail and create what they had just fixed to start failing again, but could not touch it because it was not part of the FEMA project. So when going forward, when applying for FEMA, let's make sure we got a big enough scope so that if there's something that's going to cause it to fail that's not in the project. Because the state, the guy from the state, I was talking to him, pointing at that, yeah, absolutely, he said, but it's not in the project, we can't fix it. He goes, it's going to fail in 3 years, and
Yeah.
it did. It's failing today.
Unfortunately, that's exactly like the Macy Road. And this as well. FEMA's only going to give you a certain amount to fix a certain spot. They're not gonna give you carte blanche to do the whole project, unfortunately, but
I can tell you that part of the idea with this, and that's where you saw some of the stream bed stuff, was to prevent further toe erosion at least in these areas. But again, we are limited to, and we could come up with something for this whole plateau, but
No.
you're talking, I mean, it's just, it would be
But if
unaffordable, like, I mean, to be blunt. So it's trying to look at the most critical areas. And that's not, you're absolutely right, something could happen across the stream, something fails, plugs the river, diverts it in, and I would say at that point, it's less likely that what we're gonna do would fail again because of the amount of stone we are putting in, but it could cause a failure adjacent to it. I mean, that could happen, but I think that's gonna be the nature of the site, you know, you're looking at, and that's why we're focusing on.
So it's not just a landfill, it's a money pit.
Yeah, but that's why we're trying to focus on areas that if they fail, it's going to cost you bigger headaches. This isn't to say that there could be other areas on the
Well,
site.
I know, but we
that-
fix that one area, then the area next to it, all the water is gonna go that way now, and that's unstable, and then we put another 3
Well,
million into it.
that was part of the idea with the erosion on the top, is to prevent on that whole stretch, channel the water away from the slope. And at the bottom, try to address the stream bed so that it's not continually chewing out the top.
which,
You said, Sharon, that our biggest concern with this, that we're liable for that landfill.
yeah.
At $7 million, if there's not that many yards, would it be cheaper to move it?
That's what I was
It's
thinking.
been talked about, it's also been talked about
I mean, I don't know the yardage, but.
to sell that property to Casella and let them have the liability.
Or close,
Well,
and they're going to guarantee.
right, it's, our portion of the landfill is closed, but we're still liable, and it's still a probability it's gonna fail even if there's no trucks and no equipment back there. It still could wash away.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a very big pile if you talk about.
In the scope of things.
Right.
5, 10
So
trucks.
that's line weeks.
Yeah.
Was that ever lined, Richard?
I'm not sure, but it's been tested for years.
Yes.
I thought sure they lined them.
Clay line.
Yeah.
Yes. We took it from the clay down the old railroad bed,
Right.
and off to the left. Yeah, it was clay, it was covered in clay anyway.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have an actual liner.
Liner, yeah.
We speak of as far as plastic or anything like that.
Okay. So, yeah, lots to think about, lots to take in. Big dollars, big effect on the taxpayers. So, my opinion would be that we have to focus on the biggest threat to the landfill itself, which would be that large slide. I'm open for.
No, I agree.
Yep.
I mean, it's something we gotta plan for in budget, though. I mean, we just can't say we're doing it
Right.
next week and
No.
have 25% of $3
Shelley,
million.
how much,
I think that's why we
how
didn't
much
wanna
do
just
we have in the CIP for that?
Paving the parking lot.
Not that much.
No, I know that.
I think we put 25,000 aside last year, maybe 50 aside this year,
Okay.
which some
So
of it
10
was
years
spent
of
on the
building.
study.
Yes.
So I didn't bring my book with me, I should look at it.
I can tell you
I
that's,
think
Got a lot of,
we applied, this is, will give you an inkling how quickly this will move. We applied for this grant in 2013. So I think at that time, we put $62,000 aside for construction and design, and then we broke it out. So we paid 25% of the design, which I think was in the area of $60,000 for the whole design. That I can't recall off the top of my head, but, so if you gave
63,500 is what we thought.
63?
Yeah.
So if you give Geodesign the green light to apply for this, they'll submit it and it will move at a very slow pace. And depending on how long it takes them to review it, when it comes back to you, it will be like any other grant, and you can not accept it if you have made an alternate plan. If you have found that there's an eager buyer out there, anyone, then you're not on the hook to accept those funds if they do grant them to you.
So
So what's the, go ahead, Bruce.
are Casella's structures threatened at present?
we didn't,
Not really.
looking at those, it wasn't the buildings, it was really it was the landfill and the salt shed were the two areas identified as, and the road. That's
Well,
There is a slide at the base, but it's down at the end of their parking area.
so it's not threatening their
It's not near the
buildings or
buildings.
their concrete pads or other concrete structures right now?
Is there a fee for applying for the grant, or is that part of our contract?
I don't believe so. That's,
No,
I mean, we're looking just at fixing the big slide, we're looking at $400,000, provided there's no cost over, the cost is no greater than what's been estimated, and that's,
If we get the grant. Or FEMA.
if we get the grant. And
FEMA.
then, okay, maybe moving the salt shed is less expensive than trying to fix that other slide, but what's it gonna cost to rebuild the salt shed? We're fortunate now, we've got a place where we can relocate it on frontage road. But that's apt to be another, gosh, I would think somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 to build a new sand shed, something like that. And then there's these other repairs in this other section that's having problems right now. We don't have any kind of idea what that's gonna cost. So, we're looking at over $500,000
And that's just the town's portion.
Yeah. I think we've got to try and come up with some figures for some of these other issues and then consider all possibilities.
I think like,
What's disturbing me is look at the effect that, and Dave will please pardon me, I'm not criticizing anybody whatsoever, but the school budget vote had a net effect of increasing the average taxes on the average household in this town by something like $300. Okay, we're talking, if we, well, add on top of that, my feeling I got from talking with DeWolf is that we're looking at possibly $400,000 or more over on the Mesa Road slide for our share.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're talking, you know, $1 million plus, like $1.2 million or something like that, that the town's gonna be obligated for to fix landslides and other problems that go along with them. What's the effect of that gonna be on people's taxes?
If you did a bond like you did for the arena, minimal, but over the course of a long period of time, it's an option.
What was the combined sand shed, the two combined?
it's a little over 3.
That's for a little under 3, yeah.
Yeah.
A little under 20.
Okay, I don't know where, I guess.
So you gotta throw taxes into it.
7 up there. 699.
The 7, that was,
For failure.
in the event that a failure would occur through the landfill, you know, to repair that at that point.
But doing nothing could bankrupt the town by having a $7 million cleanup.
And that's what we were looking at, is,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
if that landfill fails.
generally what we would do is we would look at,
Well,
in today's dollars, you multiply the probability of failure by the cost of the repair. So it's, you know, 40% of 7 million is a lot more than 1.9 million.
And that's, does not include
I think
the hazmat
Yeah.
and all the other
Heidi
disposal
said,
fees.
it's going to be a very slow moving process and we need to start the process. So in my opinion, we apply for FEMA. We're not putting the town on any hook at that point. We apply, get the thing going. And if something happens from now until we get the help, at least we're doing our job to try to protect it. We're trying to move forward. And I think that looks better in the government eyes instead of saying, well, we didn't do anything.
Right.
So in my opinion, I think we have instruct Geo to get moving on the FEMA grant application and start the process, and then we'll figure out funding at a later date. But I think we need to show that we are trying.
I think one thing I would bring up that I think we would need to decide before is if you were going to just do the landfill or both.
In my opinion, I think
Okay.
landfill is the.
Just for what it's worth, you wouldn't be able to do the salt shed on its own. I can tell you that right now, because the value of the salt shed is less than the cost of the repair. So FEMA would just say no. You are allowed to lump it together as one site, and at that point, the cost associated with the repair to the landfill is so catastrophic that you lump it in together and it would go through. But again, you're on the hook for more money at that point.
So does your 900,000 for the slide by the landfill, does
Yep.
that include fixing the stream in the 2 sections that you pointed out?
Yeah, if we were to pull out just some of the stream, I would have to talk to Cross Consulting about that. They might need a little bit more scope just to adjust that. There might be a little bit more design fees, I don't know how much, without doing that
Right.
fix.
I'm just
Right now,
wondering
it's all
if,
done together.
yeah, I'm wondering if, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound, whether we fix the damn thing correctly in the, say, 3 spots, the brook, the sand shed, and the catastrophic spot.
Yeah, I said, yeah, those costs right there do include
That as well.
that as well. If we take out the sand shed, I think part of that might have included, you know, they just split up general areas. So some of the stream repairs, I think, were lumped into that, so if you still wanted to do the stream repair, some of those would have to be pulled out.
So we'll just move Swan Line
And they
to
might-
Highgate.
They might have to, there might be some more analysis that needs to be done, because at that point, the shape of the channel is different. If you don't do, they analyze the shape of the channel with the repair.
The other hard part with that is Swan Lime, they have enough stone for that.
You mean Shelburne?
Shelburne Lime, yeah, because
Okay.
They don't do
No,
that
it's a lot of
stone
stone.
anymore.
so it'd all have to come from St. Albans. Georgia or St. Albans.
What size stone would that be?
Number 2, it was like,
I think we said type 2. It's,
2 foot minus.
yeah, 2, I think it's up to 3. But generally, like,
Driveway
stone
mix.
is about 2 feet.
so I don't know, what do you think? Should we go for the whole thing to try to see if we can get it all repaired, or would you rather just fix the
But
part by the
again, yeah, If you go for
landfill?
the whole thing, it's not like you can just pull out part
Right,
of it later. It would be kind of all or nothing. And that's,
right,
if you need some time to think about it, I get it. I just want to make sure you guys knew.
yeah.
But on the other hand, if
there
one
are some-
worsens during the process and we've
Yeah.
only applied for
True.
the other, you can't go back and add it.
Not at that point. no.
Right, so-
Yeah, this
I
answer,
think
no.
we,
Apply for the whole thing and,
Yep.
yeah. Apply for the whole thing, I think.
And obviously, right now, there are certain things like the administration specs, the permitting, the erosion.
That's what,
We didn't put any of that in yet,
Later.
because once that
Yeah.
goes in, it is time sensitive.
Right.
So all that would have to be done once there was more firm.
Table
Is it
the
at all
next meeting?
possible to move the old landfill?
So we
Yes.
can talk.
It could be, looking at the cost associated with that isn't something we would do, it's not really my area of expertise.
Yeah, it's a big
but
decision.
It could be looked at.
Alleviate
it is,
enough of
You
the
know,
load that.
it's just what he just said, is there a way
Number one,
to move that old landfill? Would that
in, would
save
be-
us, or would that cost us more?
At that point,
Probably cheaper.
a failure would be as,
I don't know.
For the land.
Right.
Chuck at the Coventry.
that's certainly something you could look at, I
If they
just
do
don't know
take
what
it.
the cost associated with that would be.
Yeah.
And how many yards would that be?
We're
I'm not sure, I'm really not sure.
we're talking about
Okay.
FEMA right now. Is there any assistance available from the state? Or how is the solid waste district involved in this, or are they? at all?
Well, I think Josh said that maybe we need more time to think about this, because there are a lot of unanswered questions that we had. That maybe if we tabled this until,
I mean, I don't want to push it off.
Right,
I
but-
think, I think there's quite a few unanswered questions that we need,
and considering the dollar amount, I think it needs some
needs-
To be hashed
thought.
around, yeah,
Yeah.
hashed over a little bit.
So if you would,
I'll make a motion to table.
does
So-
that fit with your timeline? If we told you in 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's,
Till next meeting.
this has been ongoing for quite a while.
Right,
so
right. And I'm
It's fairly-
sure will be quite some
I would
years
have
to
been
come.
very surprised if you guys were able to go, yeah, sure, go ahead, without.
So is that gonna give us enough time in 2 weeks, or do we have to meet special, or talk
Hurricane
about it?
season, that's what makes me nervous.
What?
Hurricane season makes me
Oh.
nervous.
You'll be safe here.
No, they'll use up our dollars.
I just want to make sure that we're all still clear that what geodesign is talking about is not going to resolve the broken pipe that we currently have.
Yeah.
So I have spoken with GW Tatro, and they're supposed to get back to us with some kind of a proposal. That was a design build that GW Tatro did, but I haven't heard back from them. So on top of all of this burden, there's also that burden, resolving that.
Drop back in punt.
Well, we may be able to arrange something for that prior to
Yeah,
this.
that would have to be
Right.
in place before we could
You could
start
do this anyway.
draining everything over there. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to table this. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Those opposed?
But the only thing I have is.
You had the discussion.
What?
It's all right, Richard.
The only thing I say is, when are we gonna discuss this? You
I
know,
think
that's the biggest thing. You say 2 weeks, but, 2 weeks go, and we're gonna have a whole bunch of other stuff tabled
I was
too.
planning on skipping next meeting. No,
Don't even go there.
we'll come up.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come up with a meeting
Okay.
to see if we can get some of our questions answered and talk about it and find out
Okay.
what kind of burden this will be. So, okay, we thank you very much
Yep.
for
Thank
explaining
you.
that in layman terms for us and having a,
I guess if there's anything I didn't cover or you think of later, I mean, I know Heidi has my contact info, you can feel free to ask.
okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Good presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
I am still willing to offer my chair to our representatives that are,
Okay, ladies, tell us what's new in Montpelier, or was new.
Yeah, nothing
Good to see you. Really, yeah.
all right.
What's this all about?
That's okay, I don't mind standing, I've been sitting all day. I'm gonna stand because I've been sitting all day. So I'm Lisa Hango, I'm your newest representative. Representative Sharon Fagard and myself, we both live in Berkshire. We represent Highgate, Berkshire, Franklin, and Richford. About 2 months ago or so, at the beginning of the summer, we made a decision that we wanted to go on a listening tour of our communities. And so we contacted all the select boards, the school boards, the planning commissions, and set up dates to go to everyone's meeting. And as I said, we were going on a listening tour. There might have been a slight misunderstanding because yesterday we found out we were on the agenda to speak. So we said, sure, we'll be happy to give you an update. On Monday evening, we were in Richford, and we gave Richford an update on what we've been doing this summer, which has been really important work around housing. And also, on Tuesday evening, we were at the Missisquoi Valley School District meeting, and we heard your representatives on the school board speak. And we also interacted with some of our constituents there on school business. So tonight, we're actually here to talk to you about our deep dive into housing. And Sharon is going to start with that.
So initially, I had the Attorney General come out to Richford because Richford has a heap of trouble. And he didn't know that much about the town, and he came out to listen, and it very quickly became clear that the primary issue that is the crux of many of the other issues in the town at this point is that there's a disproportionate number of rental units that are not being managed appropriately, and they are receiving state rental checks. And they are housing people who are out on parole from the Department of Corrections or families that are receiving welfare assistance. And they're not maintaining their properties. And the Department of Corrections is not doing follow-up and providing any kind of services or accountability for the parolees. And it's overwhelmed this small, isolated community with very few jobs and a lack of training opportunities, and one bus that leaves in the morning to St. Albans and one bus that comes back in the evening. And one of the suggestions that the Attorney General had was, well, let's look at lead paint, because in the 1980s, a law was passed in Vermont that if you own and rent out a house built before 1978, every year you're supposed to do an assessment of that property, and if you find more than 12 square inches of lead paint that is not in good shape, you need to take care of that, and you need to every year submit a report. But so we had some other members from the Attorney General's office come out and do a meeting and explain a lot of these details to us. And I just shared some of that, but the compliance rate is very low for this, but this is sort of a regulatory opportunity to make sure that some of the rental units that just have deteriorating lead paint on the exterior, it's an opportunity to hold some of those landlords accountable. The office is determined to use carrots rather than sticks unless somebody is really out of hand, like they're faking their little reports or they're just refusing. But because they only have about 25% compliance, they try to get the word out. And so on the 18th of this month, at 5 p.m. running to 9 p.m., there is a training at the Enosburg Ambulance or Emergency Services Building. And it's $10. It requires you pre-register. And I sent the information to the town via email, so there should be a record of it that it should, the link to register, but I can also email that to anybody who asks me to do that. I sent a legislative update out today via email that has that link. But I know I was made aware after we had the Attorney General come out to Richford that Highgate has some of the same issues. I know the housing stock's a little newer here. You have a lot more vinyl siding houses built that are, you know, they're not built in 1910. But the training on the 18th that runs from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. will certify the people who take it to do that. They call it essential maintenance practices for lead paint. It'll certify you, you'll get an EMP number, essential maintenance practices, and you can do that work on the rental unit you own, or you can hire out to do that work for other people, for their property. It's an opportunity, and I think probably will provide a lot of useful information. We have the second oldest housing stock in the nation, and we have, consequently, we have issues with lead exposure. And a lot of that comes with flaking paint, but also really old windows. As you raise and lower them, it creates dust that goes into the air that's inhaled. And generally, the Department of Health notices when there's high blood level testing in children in a certain community, and they'll focus there. But then we had more conversations related to some of the funding opportunities and issues like that for communities to improve their downtowns, where Richard's downtown is really impacted by these deteriorating rental units. Highgate doesn't have that. You have a nice downtown. But I'll let Lisa take it from here.
So I just want to comment that I did see the governor today, and he mentioned his visit here to Highgate recently. I'm sorry I couldn't have been here too, but he thought people seemed very enthusiastic about the Vital Village designation and the work that you're doing here. So he was really pleased with that. So what we found out in our meetings with the Vermont Department of Housing and Community Development is that anybody who has a village center designation, which Richford does, can apply for community development grants. And these community block grants, which actually there were a bunch of them given out today, 10 of them in the city of St. Albans to various communities around the state of Vermont. Anybody who has a village center designation can apply for them, and they're administered by the Champlain Housing Trust. And the Champlain Housing Trust is the entity that helps people and landlords and town officials get money to do projects in those towns. A great example, again in Richford, is the old Sweat Cummings factory that's been turned into a multi-use facility with housing for various income levels for business. There's a grocery store on the downstairs floor and a health center. So that's a really good use of an old building that was going to be torn down. So these community block grants also come along with downtown tax credits of up to 25% for that village. And this is big dollars we're talking about that towns, villages just can't come up with on their own in Vermont if you have no real economy in your town. So one thing we're trying to work with now with the Department of Housing and Community Development is to bring a couple of their folks out to our community, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a meeting in Richford. It could be a meeting in Franklin or Berkshire or Highgate. The likely spot might be Richford, just because they hopefully are going to be applying for some of these grants. But these folks would like to come out and talk to community members of all of our communities, and we'll invite Enosburg and Montgomery and Bakersfield as well. To come and talk to them about opportunities to get money to fix up your village centers. And that means helping with the following: property or code or Americans with Disability Acts upgrades, weatherization, general safety and efficiency standards in homes and businesses. Things that people would love to do with their place of business or in their home, but don't necessarily have the kind of money to do that with. Those are the things they're going to help with. So we're still waiting to hear back from those two gentlemen. I actually had a brief meeting today with the Commissioner of the Vermont Department of Housing and Community Development, Josh Hanford, because I ran into him today. And he said that his people had been out on vacation and they will be getting back to me. So those are the two folks that are going to be coming up our way to talk about not necessarily just housing, but economic and community development in our isolated rural towns. So those will be public meetings. We certainly will publicize them heavily so that we can get as many participants as possible. We love to bring people from Montpelier up here to see what life is like here, but we really feel badly when they come up and only 5 people turn out for a meeting. So we're hoping to have a really good turnout when they come up. And I can't guarantee when it's going to be. I just really hope it's going to be before the start of the next legislative session, which is the beginning of January. Let's see. The other thing that we hoped to have by tonight was an update from the Department of Corrections, because when we spoke with the Attorney General, he came up and had a little meeting in a coffee shop in Richford and heard from some pretty discouraged and angry citizens about the state of what was going on in Richford with parolees being dumped in the town, who have no support network. They have no family here, they have no transportation, they have no prospect for a job because some of them can't pass a background check. And really they're just stuck, isolated in a little town on the border. So when he came up and spoke with us, he said, you know, I'm going to get in touch with the commissioner at the Department of Corrections and find out exactly what's going on. So we have scheduled and rescheduled a meeting with the person who knows the answer to that. And we were hoping to have that meeting by today, and we have not. It's now scheduled for Monday afternoon. So we'll find out a little bit more and we'll put out an update on exactly what's going on, because part of the problem is a lot of landlords who are accepting state checks for people to be relocated to our area. Those landlords don't even live in our area. They're living in Burlington or somewhere else and just collecting a rent check. And they're very happy to collect a rent check because from the state, it's not going to bounce, it's not going to be late, it's not going to go missing. So they know it's guaranteed income. So we really would like to get to the bottom of this and find out a better way of housing people who really need a lot of services, and to find out what we can do to revitalize our downtowns.
And one of the strange complications where it's led to the exacerbation of this issue in Richford and maybe in this town as well is that Burlington and Franklin and Grand Isle, I mean, Chittenden County, Franklin, Grand Isle, they're all lumped into the same, how would you?
It's called an MSA. It's like a rent structure or an income structure.
So, right.
When they talk about us,
Mhm.
they're including Chittenden County with us.
Right, and of course, we know that there is nothing similar between here and Burlington regarding the cost of living or the opportunities to make a certain income rate. And so these landlords are able to command pretty high rent checks from the state up here. And one landlord who only has 3 units and who's a very conscious and committed community member told me that he rents to people who are employed, and he cannot charge nearly as much because people who are working can't afford to pay that much money for their rent. But on the flip side, because of that, some of the financial assistance that's available for doing the lead paint remediation or getting some of that funding, you know, most of the state, you have to make under $40,000 or $41,000 to qualify, but in Burlington and Franklin, Grand Isle, you can make up to $50,000 and still qualify for that help. So that's like the tiny silver lining on the big dark cloud.
So that, in a nutshell, is what we've been spending our summer doing so far. And we know that there's a need here in Highgate as well for help with housing stock. And we're just hoping that everything that we learn through this Richford process we'll be able to bring back to our other communities as well. We'll have a lot more knowledge. This is new to both of us. My committee is actually a housing committee that I sit on. So a lot of these things that I've heard about all session long are now a reality because I'm seeing them in my own communities, and I'm seeing that, yes, these people we bring in to testify can actually, or say they can actually help us.
And for any of you that want to get this kind of information from us on a more regular basis, we are both doing legislative updates, and you are welcome to be on our email lists, because a lot of what we just said, we've actually shared with people who have been on our email lists over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So.
I think you make an excellent point. We should do more to support the working poor who are trying to make a living, who have to choose between whether they pay the high rent that has been imposed by a state statute, and have to go to the food shelf to get food to eat. It's not fair. It's not right.
Well, and those landlords take advantage because when they get that state check, they're getting more than they could possibly get from a family that's, from a tenant that is out working, and especially because in this part of the state, the pay isn't as high as it is in Burlington. But their legislative update, by the way, the U.S. Census is bringing in a bunch of jobs, and they pay $16.80 to $18 an hour. So that was in the update that I sent out today or yesterday.
So does anyone have any questions for our representatives?
Can they find us money for a landslide?
That would be, no, that's not even you.
Me. I'm Ag and Forestry Committee.
We have a Natural Resources Committee too.
Well, I mean, that's...
It's definitely worth us looking into it, to talk to the people we know who sit on those committees.
I mean, we're a small town, and if we raise our tax rate to what we need to pay for this, we won't have any residents left in our town.
That's right.
This is the first I've heard of your landfill problem, and boy, that's a big problem.
Well,
I mean, it's...
Could we also make you aware that we have a similar landslide on a road in the eastern part of the town Nasha Road.
I heard reference to
We were
that.
looking at, last year, we were looking at $1 million estimate to repair the road, the bank that the road sits on top of. And we've now learned that that's not going to begin to fix the problem.
Oh, wow. And I know you've had issues
And we
with
just put
Monument
we
Road.
just put a brand new bridge in there.
You've talked with the Agency of Transportation, I'm sure. And are
First
they
name basis.
offering, is it Wayne Simmons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they offering any assistance at all for this project?
Quite a lot, but they're as much sort of hung out there as we are. The geotechnical engineer for that one, this is my understanding of it, anybody correct me that wants to, is they're talking about starting a type of fix and developing more data about what needs to be done as they're doing that fix. The proposal they've got is, well, it's called soil nails. It basically is drilling at an angle, quite a steep angle, in, I'm not sure how many hundreds of feet, and basically filling that hole with concrete and reinforcing rod, and then just continuing to put enough of those in place until you've stabilized the bank sufficiently.
Wow. Wow. That's only
So right
lasts
now
for
it's,
so long, too.
right now it seems completely open-ended. And it, well, that's the best recommendation the experts could come up with. But
And with the landfill issues, there were references to FEMA. Is there not federal money that's available for collapsing roads outside of the Agency of Transportation? I mean, it would.
our town administrator alluded to the fact that this process started in 2013 about the landfill site. I wasn't on the board then. No one here was on the board
The
then.
Macy Road one, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they said there they would have money available if that one failed, but there's no money available if we fix it.
So that's my
So
understanding
that's-
with FEMA, is that they don't do any preemptive. I could be wrong, but I have heard on more than one occasion that they won't go in and go, oh, let's take care of that before it fails. They go in after it fails and say, oh, let's go spend 5 times as much to fix it.
Right, there are hazard mitigation funds, we've applied for different things. We do have a $734,000 grant for the Macy Road repair from Agency of Transportation.
Okay. And the total cost of that job was going to be
We're
millions?
uncertain at this point.
Okay, you
Our
don't
original
know.
estimates were $1 million.
Okay.
I want a blank check.
Yeah, it's a work in progress,
So
which is
it's,
stated.
as they're fixing, they're going to come up with more need for
As they're
fix.
fixing, they're gonna design the fix.
Yeah.
I want to be a contractor.
I have a list of grants that I can give to you.
Oh, that would be great.
The challenge
yeah.
is finding something that's compatible for the match. So I have a lot of confidence in you two ladies.
Well, we know a lot of people.
We know a lot of people.
There's just this much money to go around, and everybody's asking for it.
Yes,
So
indeed. It was good to know the governor's talking about us.
he was actually. So that was really, really great. That was at his press conference today. He actually did mention Highgate and his bike trip here.
And I wasn't there because I have bad sheep. They've become escape artists during the last 4 days and 3 days.
You caught some of it, you were there.
Oh, for, at the governor's.
Right.
Yes,
But
but
not
today,
today.
I wasn't at the event today, which is why I'm all dressed up now, because I was looking forward to dressing up. And, I thought I should wash the sheep manure off
So,
myself. Dress up and come here.
You sit on the ag, you said,
Ag
in
and
forestry?
forestry, yep.
So what's going on with that, you know, the big thing in Highgate, I think right now is we got a lot of land.
Yep.
And then land trust and a lot of farms going out is what's gonna happen, you know, what, you know.
So the legislative session ended in late May, so not much more has happened since then. That, you know, the issue with dairy is there's too much milk. And when I went to the Northern Tier Dairy Summit in early spring, I pretty much, the New Zealand model I came to view as our enemy because it's corporate, it's got franchises and investors, and they only place their 10,000 cow farms where you can graze all year long, and they plant a monocrop of permanent ryegrass, and they breed all the cows at the same time, so the milk production goes with the ryegrass growth. And they have 2 farms in New Zealand. They've got one in Missouri because it's a free water state, so they can pump as much water out of the ground as they want, and nobody will punish them for creating problems with the water table. And so they use the land up by fertilizing and irrigating and not treating it right, and then they move on and sell the flat land to developers. And their break-even price for hundredweight is $13. So up here, our really big farms maybe need 16, and our little farms are needing closer to 20. So, and we can't graze all year long. So I'm really concerned for our dairy industry up here. You know, we've been watching this. We've been watching this decline for a long time, and because the fix is at the federal level, there's not a whole lot we can do here. You know, we can help out. You know, we can put Band-Aids on the wounds, but we can't actually stop the primary injury, which is the overproduction of milk.
I think, you know, like here in Highgate, I think there isn't many left. I think you might be 17 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Here, where when I was growing up, you had 85 to 90 farms maybe, and just in Highgate.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm over, but there was a lot of
cows, you know,
yeah, there was 50 cows, but here now what bothers me is we got all this land.
Yep.
And a lot of it went into land trust.
Yep.
So what's going to happen? What you know what's going to come into Highgate to keep Highgate going? You know, what is it? What kind of farming? You know, that land's going to sit idle.
Right, and dairy uses a lot of land, so we actually have a young demographic of farmers coming into the state, but they're not doing dairy. They tend to be young people who are doing diversified farms, growing maybe a mix of vegetables and fruits and berries, and raising chicken and pork. But they can do all of that on 10 acres.
Yeah.
Whereas the dairy is what has really kept the land open and given us this bucolic look that the tourists love.
But the other thing, we don't have a market.
No.
You know, with chickens and pigs and goats,
Yep.
we don't have a market around here. If you want to market it, you got to take it to Massachusetts or,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep, and that's part of also some of the dairy farms. You know, the little hill farms, they're kind of hard to get to. I think there's like one in South Royalton area where, like, there's a covered bridge. Milk trucks aren't going to that farm anymore.
Right.
Being close to the highway, being at the south end of the state, so that the big market in Massachusetts or in New York are more accessible. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's a problem. And there are a lot of people out there drinking almond milk now. And they think they're getting the same nutrient and protein that...
Have you ever tried that? I've tried it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You gotta have very little fingers.
There's no milk in an almond.
Yeah, and the average glass of almond milk has the equivalent of 4 almonds in it, plus a whole bunch of additives, and it doesn't have near the protein or the vitamins and minerals in it that milk does. But it doesn't need to be refrigerated, but they put it in the refrigerated section next to the real milk. So there's a lot that's, there are a lot of challenges. Yeah. And there's something like, I want to say, like 1 billion pounds of cheese that's overstocked, that's being kept so that the cheese market isn't flooded. The US government is keeping like 1 billion pounds of cheese. They're paying for refrigeration of cheese. So yeah, so
Aged cheddar.
eat more cheese.
It's gonna be really aged.
Eat more cheese. I have one bumper sticker in my car, and it says "Got Vermont cheese."
But that's the kind of thing, Richard, that we really want to try to talk to these economic development folks about, because a lot of times they're so focused on, okay, let's save St. Albans, which is great. They're doing a great job helping St. Albans or St. Johnsbury or Brattleboro, but nobody's really thinking about the rural land that we live on. And, you know, well, my 30-something cattle were sold, and now all of a sudden the grass and the weeds are starting to grow up. What's the farm gonna look like, you know, next year, the year after?
And it's land trust, and you can't do anything with it.
That's right. Yep. I think it was in Richford. I met somebody last year around this time, and they were saying, you know what? I really want to have an ATV trail. You know, you know, we're missing out. There are a lot of people who go to New Hampshire to do these trails, and he was trying to figure out how to work something with one of the farmers nearby so that they could have a designated trail, you know, as long as the people behave and stay on the trail and don't flatten the hay. I don't know what the solution is. I think we need to be creative, though. I think we need to be creative and have, you know, one of the things that impresses me about Highgate is people show up for the select board meetings, which I can't say is true of the other towns, you know. And that means there are people here who are paying attention and are hopefully coming up with ideas.
And who care?
Yeah.
I think our community is...
Half of life is showing up.
Yeah.
Maybe you could speak with Vass on that four-wheeler situation, because I still don't understand why they couldn't utilize that in the summer on four-wheelers and use snowmobiles. I mean, snowmobiles are fuel, four-wheelers are fuel. A lot of places, they gotta get to stores, restaurants, fuel, and they would.
The reason why is because,
you know, I'm not condemning anybody.
well, the reason why
is
is exactly what she said.
I'm not condemning anybody on Vass, but I don't know why they don't combine that.
Well,
everybody should share.
Well, I think
the reason what she said was the landowners don't want their crops knocked down, because what's going to happen is...
Well, you got your snowpack.
Exactly.
It protects the land, and you're not farming it right then anyway. But
I could see one guy just being funny, I'm gonna go knock down 18 rows of corn for fun.
And also, if you look at national forests all over the U.S. where
that's what
they
they're
do
gonna
have ATVs,
people are assholes.
you know, 90% of the people stay on the designated trails, but something like 5 or 10% go off, and it creates worse erosion than repeated clear cut does. I'd rather, you know, if you're looking at forest health, it's much healthier to do a clear cut than to allow regular ATV traffic on it. It does more damage. But I think that there are places where it makes sense, but it's just harder to find those places than it is to find
backing up
places
on
for
that
snowmobiles.
vast trail, that had nothing to do with going on farms. Vast on the rail trail
Yeah.
is from here to Richford. And there's a lot of time in between, and that could be utilized where they could stop to the stores and whatever. I know in New York, property over there, they allow them to go on the inside of the white line down a lot of the roads to get to where they're going. And they got to register them and insure them like they should.
Right. Well, I think here probably the biggest issue with allowing four-wheelers on the rail trails is probably because then there would be nobody else on those rail trails.
Yeah, it would be hard
Because
for
somebody coming
bikers.
by, you know, 40 miles an hour, when, you know, grandma's out there, she doesn't hear that well with her elderly dog, and to have somebody coming by who's, you know, 15 years old and thinks he's invincible, That's a kind of a rough.
Well, Highgate has an ordinance for that as well.
So I just want to interrupt and let you know that I did hear, we haven't been there yet, but Berkshire Selectboard has been approached about people using ATVs around. And I do know a couple of facts. You have to have your vehicle registered to ride on the roads. You've got to have insurance. So there are a lot of hoops to jump through. And then about the rail trails, the biking, paddling groups are really interested in preserving the rural quality of the rail trails. So they really want to keep bikers, walkers, runners, people who come up on the river and want to walk to a store, like you're saying, on the rail trail.
And in that sense, you're still not giving everybody the opportunity to treat that trail that could be used in different ways. So you should have meetings, open meetings with it, and let people talk. You do have speed limits on that with snowmobiles, and the state will probably get rich on four-wheelers going up and down there and we'll slow it down, you know?
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry to rush you guys on, but
No,
That's
this is
okay.
good.
You have a
I've gotta
big
go
agenda.
back and see if my sheep have escaped. I've been.
it'll be all right.
And I'm gonna stay and listen.
Can't be worse than
Okay,
goats.
thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, so we are running behind, so let's
Speed up.
speed a little up. Mary, you are asking for a continuance on 14 Arthur Drive.
Got it.
Are you having progress there?
The slowest progress is the removal of the hoarding trash.
Okay.
Casella has offered us a dumpster, which is great news, except for they offered that like 3 weeks ago and we haven't seen it yet. So that's our biggest hurdle. Once we're past that, I think we're golden to get weatherization in there.
Okay. So,
Property transfer tax returns, but Michael's gone yet.
I've heard that. When she called on it, because I do keep in close contact with her, which we meet at least every week, he told her he'd get to it when he could.
Hope that's not a holdup for weatherization.
right.
Yeah, because they actually wanted her on the list by 15th of September, and she can't be on that as a tenant. She can only be on it as a
Landowner.
owner.
Yeah,
So,
unless
you
he
know,
wants to
We're
be,
getting discouraged.
yeah, unless he wants to be paying up, he best get on the stick. All right, so,
So, you light a fire under Mr. Gahn.
What's the question? Who can light a fire under Mr. Gahn? How many times have you contacted him?
Someone's
There's
gone.
6 on myself.
Several.
I've tried.
See what I did there?
How Juanita has.
So have I, in Kirby that.
Right.
Just try to keep it moving.
So who's paying for the dumpster?
Casella has offered to donate it, but it's getting it there because obviously we're asking for it. We've got to take it on their time, which is fair.
okay.
It's gonna be snowfly.
Yeah, if you need a letter, let one of us know and one of us can sign it, saying there are
Ed
consequences.
sending him a letter on another issue, so.
Okay. Yep,
If
go,
it's needed.
What did you say, you're sending a
Ed
letter?
I already am working with Ed on another issue about that area.
Got it.
So we can throw it in the same letter.
might as well, tell him
So do we need a
If we
motion
get-
to continue it to the 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll see you on the 17th. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Okay, fire department. Okay, Joe, speedy.
Yeah. I guess we got opening fire bids.
Okay.
That was the first on the list.
We received 2.
Here you go.
You don't need this anymore. I was gonna put it aside.
Oh, move that.
Oh my word.
Holy cow.
Hope there's an executive summary right in the beginning.
There is.
If you want a summary from E1, Dan is here. If you want a quick summary as to what the truck is.
Dan, how about it? Can you do a quick overview for us?
The two bids typically.
What two companies do you deal with?
So I have one, the one I have is Grocery Mercy Products, E1. And then this one is for pumper tanker on International HB 607 chassis per attached quote, $346,855. Deduct for 100% prepayment at time of contract, $6,000. Add if contract is executed after 9/26/19 of $51.50. Final delivery will be made approximately 420 calendar days from completed execution of the sales contract. This proposal shall expire in 30 days and in selfish ground.
Okay, so second bid is from Spartan Emergency Response. It is for one Spartan ER Star Series pumper tanker on an International HV 607 chassis with all listed equipment. The bid is $375,769, all to be paid upon delivery of the completed apparatus.
All prepaid, did you say?
Josh. All to be paid upon delivery.
Thank you.
Yep. The apparatus and equipment shall be ready for delivery within 440 days after the effective date.
Now, what, the chassis of that one was what?
The same, the International HV 607.
Okay.
So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you got.
Certainly. Why don't you?
Basically, there was three monetary values that you read out, 346.
Yep.
855.
Yep.
The second one was if you did 100% prepay, you could deduct that $6,000 for the prepay.
Okay.
So that means you would actually pay 340, 855 at the time of the contract. Okay.
Okay.
So you got that $6,000 savings. Now, I don't like to BS anybody, tell you the way it is. You have to look at what is it, if you're gonna go borrow money, what is it costing you to borrow money, that's going against that discount, obviously, right? So, someone needs to do some figuring to find out if that's a good deal for the town or not.
So our young lady's already all over it. I can see her over there scribbling like hell.
Okay.
We're not borrowing.
Yeah. So we have set aside for the fire truck today.
First of all, are both these specs identical?
You had a set of specs that you set out.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we are comparing quotes, apple to apples, everything else.
You don't know that until you bid for it.
Right, yes.
I can tell you that I did exactly what you asked for. I remember.
Thank you.
Warranty?
Tail light.
1 year bumper to bumper.
Yep.
10-year structural warranty on the body.
Yep.
And the international warranties are separate, obviously.
Yes.
Standard international, just like Ford, GM, 10-year stainless steel piping warranty, there's a 10-year prorated paint warranty. All that's included in that price. That's our standard warranty package. I mean, it should be in there if they're, should be spelled out in there if they're not.
That 607 is probably an automatic.
Yes. It's a 350 Otis Cummings with an automatic. That's what was in that stuff.
That's good. You can drive standard.
With the $50,000 grant that we were awarded, we have $351,272, including the $17,000 that the auxiliary balance that we were missing.
Okay. So people might not know that, but the fire department took their fund that they had for the firemen and women, And they dissolved that fund as a 501. And they gave $17,000 of that money toward the purchase of a new fire truck, to show their commitment.
It'd be really cool if I had a picture of it on the front of it. I like pictures.
Now, the other figure that was in my quote of 5150, or in my bid of 5150, you got a price increase on it?
Yes.
So behove you to move relatively fast to save that $5,150 price increase.
Right.
I got a picture, yeah.
How many liters is that?
That's an 8.9 liter. It's an L9 Cummins.
Could you say where Spartan is located?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, sorry, no, I.
You with the Spartan?
Yeah, I'm looking with it now.
Covered? No. I think I just saw it. Right here. North Haven, Connecticut.
Does it say a service station area?
There's a lot of freaking pages to this. Just saying.
You didn't read it all yet?
I have not read it all, right? I'm still going.
Right here, Turbic.
Still going through different things.
I can just voice my opinion on the whole thing. I went with E1 to get the first initial bid. We have E1 trucks as it is. We have great service with it. Our engine one was down. Dan was gratefully, right here the next day to come and get the parts and get things fixed up, and we took the truck and got it fixed. I don't know as if we're gonna get that type of service anywhere else. We put it out the bid just so that we have other numbers to come up with. But I would push a big push towards E1. If
I don't think there's much of an argument, the difference in price, and that was the second factor.
We just looked at wheelbase and stuff like
But
that.
this people, that is
Spartan's
420
actually
days out,
shorter.
no shorter?
No, I'm worried about making that. It's a lot of trucks.
Well, any day over 420, we're gonna charge you.
I didn't hear that in the bid openings, that E1 was approximately in Spartan
I'm getting to that page.
was
440.
Yes.
So it's pretty much the same truck that we got. The same chassis and everything as what we have in E2, right?
Correct.
yes,
Very similar to E2.
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little bit longer again.
It's gonna be a little bit longer.
And we're gonna have the stand up, stand on to, for the pump, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna have,
top.
a catwalk, yeah.
Yep,
It gets longer by the width of the catwalk.
yep.
Because your engine 2 right now is a
You're be 32 feet 4 inches overall length.
32,
Yep.
get the bill, same thing.
that truck gonna give us enough,
Fit in our garage, or do we have to build a new garage?
no, that's not what I was going with. Room for growth for the town.
Yes. It is. Actually, the tank on that one is 1,800.
Correct.
So it actually boosts that capacity of water that we're carrying. It's also gonna have foam on it, which we don't have right now. So that will increase our capability.
At the airport?
Even the airport, that was part of the idea of the foam, came about. This truck isn't any more than what the town's gonna need for the next 10 to 15 years, as far as roll size is concerned. It became a pumper tanker because it's more useful as far as dual incidents, because we never know when we get on a scene what we're gonna end up happening. Go to mutual aid, if we need a pumper, You know, it's set up for a pumper, but if we need more tankers than we do pumpers, then it's a multi-use truck.
Spartan warranty is 2 years. For bumper. They said standard 1 year, but this Spartan is a standard warranty for 2 years. I don't know if that.
For just the body?
It says warranty page 28, what you're trying to get through, and then it says Spartan ER will supply a 2-year warranty in lieu of the 1-year warranty. This is Spartan's standard warranty. Okay, we'll find page 20.
So they're gonna upcharge you for 2 years? Is that what they're saying?
Pretty much.
As long as there's $20,000 in the deal.
That's 30.
30?
No, we requested a 1 year.
Yeah, this back here said they're gonna give us a 2. Apparatus, 10 years, 100,000 miles, structural warranty. It'll last forever.
Yep.
10-year stainless plumbing parts.
You've got an 86 E1 body out there right now that's
Good shape.
covered by that same warranty. It's
10-year paint.
the body on it.
Regardless of a 2-year warranty, I'm gonna lean more heavily on Chief DePady's
Absolutely.
recommendation.
Do we need more time to decide, or would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that
Okay.
we go with E1.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, any discussion?
You want the prepayment to make the savings.
And we'll go with the prepayment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, any problems with that idea, Shelley? Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to thank Spartan for
Yes,
flying
absolutely.
in. Both of them.
And thank you, Dan, for coming. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
In 400 and
We'd like to purchase a fire truck.
We get a contract together and get it up to you.
Okay.
To you, Shelley, or to Heidi, or
in 420 days.
Get it right to Shelley.
Shelley, yep.
Yep. And she'll,
She's growing them up.
yep. Always
There's
be,
a sample contract in
Okay.
I hope.
so yes, we thank both bids for bidding on this opportunity.
Joe might.
Okay, Joe.
Okay. Communication tower. This is gonna be my nightmare of all nightmares. Come on. We're gonna get there. Burlington Communications finally gave me a bid to put one up, and they can put one up ASAP, as long as they get the okay to do it. The only thing that they need is the concrete work done. They will erect the tower, they will put the antennas on, they will run the coax cable. Heidi, did you have all of that for them, or?
Yeah, so basically Burlington Communications bid to do all the work was 21,000, or is it?
$21,372.
I did reach out to several concrete companies, we only have one bid back at this time.
Harrison's?
No. Harrison was not interested in doing
Yeah,
this.
it's too small.
Too small. All right.
Anchor from
Fairfax.
What was price? I don't want to do it because if they're still bidding it.
You didn't hear anything from Dane Menard?
No.
Don't want to say the price yet, we're still waiting on bids.
That was the bid.
I
Okay.
don't know if you're doing that this one.
Right.
So without the excavation, it was 1,590.
Can we
Am I
do
reading
our,
that right? And then with it, it's an extra 950.
Right. And the excavation is not,
Butch can dig a hole.
it's not a big hole.
Oh, you get a radio.
That's the size. It's 3 foot by 3 foot, concrete.
Tell Nick, give Nick a shovel.
Okay, so, Richard had a couple of questions.
Yep.
So Butch it's now our understanding that you would like to be on this tower as well.
Well,
The way that came around,
Okay.
back that train up a little bit, the way that came around, Todd sent me an email, asked me if, because when he drove around the building, he saw that the highway department's antenna is,
Sad.
that's the reason why you're not getting very good reception, by the way. It needs to be replaced. So he was wondering, since we're putting up the tower, if that would be something that you guys would be interested in doing, so that's why I approached that on that end. I have not heard back from it on how much extra that would be.
Okay. And can you do, because this city police would also like to be on this tower.
This is already proposed in that.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
And I
is
spoke
that-
to Chief.
Does that work?
Yeah.
To have all three on there, no interference?
I
no-
spoke with Chief Taylor today and he told me he would put up $6,000 towards it.
Yes.
Which was the money they were missing.
Okay.
Because they're gonna use 16,000, which is their fund balance, that's their entire fund balance, to put that's what the original price
Yes.
was for the tower.
Right.
And the actual price, Chief Taylor said they put up
So.
the
How much did you
extra.
have in your fire engine account? Wasn't that 350 something?
Fire engine account.
The CIP for the.
That's the CIP, Richard.
We can't do anything with that money.
We gotta revote that at town meeting, the extra, reallocate it.
But I think we have the money for doing this, correct? We have the
Yes.
16 and then the 6, so we
Which
have
is
the
the
money.
21.
Yep.
We can use building and ground maintenance for the
Concrete.
1,500 concrete. And the highway department has, I was just looking it up, I thought it was 2,000. They have 1,400 in communications that they can put towards getting their radio on
Yeah,
the
I don't
tower.
think it's gonna cost much. I mean, it's an antenna and
I don't think
100
so
feet of
either.
wire, so I mean, I can imagine.
Their communication line item should cover their
Yeah,
costs.
so I mean, in the interest of time, I think we make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve it. And
With the
put-
bids apply.
Yep, with the bids apply and put town, St. Albans dispatch and fire department on it. That way we have good communication in our town. I think it's good for safety. I know a lot of times someone's out with the mower and they get stuck or something's happening, they're yelling for help and cell phones don't always work in the area and we waste a lot of time and labor just waiting for that guy, and then all of a sudden someone drove by, hey, can you give me a ride back so I can go get help? And if we have good radio coverage, I think that it's very important.
So right now, the way it looks like when we were talking to Todd, he figures it's about 4 weeks to get the tower in. But they have the anchoring system in the warehouse so that he can have that next day. So we can go ahead and get the groundwork done. There was an issue with grounding of the power panel because the fact that the tower has to be a continuous one ground system. I had Eric come out to look to see where the ground is in this building. We finally found it. It was kind of weird, but he thought it was weird as well. So we did find it, so there is a ground here, so we're good on that end of it. So we don't have any extra costs and that, so.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, next.
Okay, what's the, before we move on here, what's the makeshift tower or whatever that's up on the roof? Is that gonna come down this,
Yes,
that's gonna come down, eh?
that'll come down.
That looks awful. New roof and a junk up there.
Is that a new roof on that little?
Baby steps.
Hey, we could have taken it down, but you wouldn't have any radio communications.
Well, but I'm saying it needs to come down.
Oh, it's not coming down.
Yeah, that looks like an eyesore up there.
Hope we can seal it good.
Yeah, that's,
Is that a new roof on that cupola?
yeah.
It's not fastened through the roof.
Oh, it is, okay,
It's clamped onto the ridge.
Yeah.
The
okay.
Yeah, they didn't fasten anything out of the roof.
Okay, Joe.
All right, so the only other thing that was on here was illegal burns. Me and Heidi had a little go around for a little while. Not illegal burns. I was aware, was not aware that we have an ordinance in Highgate on illegal burns. That I was not aware of. I thought I was running under state rules and regulations. How are we going to enforce illegal burns in this town if we have an ordinance? What is my duty? If I'm going to be writing tickets, I'm going to be spending a lot of time writing tickets.
You shouldn't be writing tickets.
I shouldn't be writing tickets as right because
Right. Plain and simple.
It's-
And Northwest Solid Waste District is asking and encouraging people to call 911, have the fire department page, and to get the police. The sheriff.
I don't, this conversation that I had with Heidi, and I wanted to bring it up with you guys. I don't have a problem calling the police, but when the police get there and they tell me that there's nothing that they can do, then I just wasted their time to come out.
Has that happened?
Yes, several times.
Is it because they don't know
Has it
about
hap-
the ordinance?
Has it happened with
I
the,
tell them we have an ordinance and they go,
Chief.
well,
has it happened with our new policing?
that I haven't gotten a hold of.
That would be the question I have.
Right.
Barry said he's spoken with them, and they are ready to write tickets.
Try it.
I think the state police have a problem doing it. They don't think that that is
Their
something
job.
they should have to mess with, which
How
I
big a problem?
disagree.
How big a problem is that?
How big? On illegal burns?
Are you talking about someone's burning leaves illegally?
Illegal burns can come up to any time anybody decides that it's bothering their airspace. It's an illegal burn. Regardless if you have a permit, you're burning clean wood, it doesn't make any difference. If it does not have a smokestack on it, and it's not hooked to a furnace, it's an illegal burn.
So if you got a neighbor that doesn't like you,
Yeah.
every weekend when you gotta,
We're opening up a can of
How do you like
worms.
those?
Italians are changing.
So, you know,
I don't know, in my opinion, if you get a permit from your fire marshal or whoever, that's I don't know, that's no longer illegal, but.
Well,
well, actually,
if,
I can put this out to you, and I actually had a game warden tell me this. They find people on lake shores now who burn wood fires. Because it's an open fire. And it's supposed to be open to the public, so, I don't know.
I would say if it's an illegal burn, call the police, let them write the ticket. If the person that gets the ticket feels it's unjustified, he can go to court and fight it. Or she.
Keep it out of the town, out of that way
Yeah.
you don't make other people.
What are generally those fines that anybody know?
I don't know.
The ordinance is in your packet. I think it starts with a warning.
First violation, violation notice and demand to cease burning and eliminate any burn barrel or similar device. It's just a warning. Second violation could be $100. Third violation could be $250. Fourth and subsequent violations could be $500.
So the first trip out, they got a warning, no fee.
It says violation notice and demand to cease burning.
And this ordinance also covers illegal dumping.
Could we send a copy of this to Chief Taylor? So he's more aware of it and that Chief DePatie might be calling him for assistance.
I can talk to Chief tomorrow. Give me a cell phone, Dan. Have a nice day.
A problem we got here is, you guys gotta stop and think. We gotta be fair. And one night, they ain't here. You call them, they don't come, okay? So this guy gets away with it. Then we get another guy, oh, they're on duty, oh, they come in and they find him out. So we got people, you know, this one got away with it, you know, we got a problem here because it isn't like our police department is here every single day. And, you know.
Well, you could look at it like speeding. You might speed through village. This time you got away with it. Next time they get you.
Yeah, but you're gonna bring, you're creating a whole bee's nest here. You're creating, and you guys don't understand as a fire department.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot on us.
We have a fire warden, why isn't he involved?
A fire warden, he is, I think.
We need a new fire warden, one that will issue tickets and go to this.
I think Richard does a lot of burning.
Fire warden's only official duty is to issue the permit.
Yeah. Yeah, it isn't the right fire ticket.
Regulation.
Right.
Well,
That's by state statute.
Barry suggested Fish and Wildlife is very enthusiastic.
Oh, yes, they are. I couldn't believe that.
Do we have a problem right now, or are we having a lot of
They're happy
complaints
to
about
write
illegal
tickets
burns?
for environmental
Like,
issues.
are we opening up a
That's
can of
law
worms?
enforcement, and they,
Are we having a lot of illegal burns right now and a lot of complaints, and that's why this is coming up, or are
at
we?
least 2 a month. At least.
Are they legitimate, though, Joe? Are they?
Yes. The last one I got just recently, Barry is
Are repeat customers.
relentless on me.
Some of them are repeat customers.
Yes.
But burning garbage or having bonfires that their neighbors don't?
Well, this one here entailed, he was burning scrap 2x4s from his farm work, which would have been fine, except that he decided to throw form panels on that were full of oil, which got a little heated, and he had like 60-foot flames going on, so kind of freaked all the neighbors out, which I don't blame them. Not a problem my first time there, so I just told him, I said, we gotta put it out, don't do it again. That was my warning to him. Apparently, there's been numerous other complaints and other things of him burning in the past. But for us to arrive on there, that was the first time that I'm aware of. Maybe further down the road, probably.
It was kind of on Vickers Street, yeah.
Okay, so.
I think can't words on me. I don't know.
My feeling is I want to know where my spot is.
If it's a repeat offender, I mean, I would think, yeah, a ticket or something has to be written, but I don't know if, like you said, you call the cops on that every time. I mean, that's just.
I mean, if he gives the warning,
right,
and the second time the cops come, I mean, it gives
Because that's
people
what was told to him. I said,
fair chance.
Here's your first warning. If I come back, because he said, well, I'm gonna relight it. I said, well, I relight it and I have to come back, it's gonna cost you money. Because we're gonna just have cops out here. It's as simple as that. He didn't relight it. He actually took it all and he brought it to solid waste, so he disposed of it. So I don't know if he's gonna continue on burning, but this is going to become an issue more and more as the state goes on, and because in actuality right now, there's not supposed to be any open burning at all.
And Josh, you need to come with us and see what it's like when they start yelling at you and there ain't no sheriffs here and they're gonna fight you. And have you ever had that? You know, that's what I say. It ain't no need. We don't get paid the big bucks to stand there and fight with them. You know.
Well, we had an incident on Lincoln Street. We waited.
Well, and chances are they're usually drunk anyway.
For a state trooper to show up at an illegal burn because we were called every name in the book.
Couldn't put it out from 500 feet.
And,
Can you turn the hose on?
well, we had some ready, so I'll put it that way. Because we didn't know what was gonna come outside the door.
Right.
So,
that's understandable.
when you put us in those positions, it makes it very difficult for us to decide what we're supposed to be doing. And the state troopers at the time didn't feel like it was an urgent thing. So
okay,
by the
then
time
we
they
set up-
showed up, the whole threat kind of calmed down.
We talked to St. Albans Police and Chief and tell him our concerns and see what he says.
Next time, tell him you got a dead guy by the fire, this will be there in 5 minutes.
He woke up.
So, you know, it's not where we're getting involved into this dispute. I want to know where it's getting to the point now that Barry is getting really on to us.
He's working on.
And holding us accountable, so he's gonna hold the town accountable as well at the state level, so.
Northwest Solid Waste.
Yeah, so I wanna make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that I'm doing my job as chief, and that you guys are aware of what's going on, so.
Barry can write tickets, can he?
He can, yeah,
But
he can. Yeah.
okay. He tells me he doesn't, he tries to.
He don't want to do anything.
He doesn't serve a ticket without a state trooper beside him, so.
Yeah.
That just tells you something right there. And you want a firefighter to go up there, and we volunteer our time.
Yeah.
No.
Josh is gonna call and let's see what Chief
I'll talk to you
Taylor,
tomorrow.
Chief Taylor
Okay.
says.
So we'll get back to you on that.
Burn barrels and,
Yeah,
So everything-
barrels are illegal.
right.
Yeah.
Burn
But a campfire, open fire is illegal.
Heidi was maybe.
If it bothers somebody, if you're burning natural wood and it bothers somebody,
I've driven through the center of Highgate and seen an open burn barrel.
Well,
Open
actually, I
fire.
read the ordinance.
Pretty scary.
Right,
Right.
You know, that, on
I read
the
the
lake
ordinance.
shore, somebody has a
There's
fire on
not
the
supposed
lake
to be any
shore.
open
I didn't
burning
know
that's
that.
past 7
Something like
p.m.
that.
It's illegal.
They're gonna go that far?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because it's public access.
That's not what our ordinance is about, so I don't
Okay,
know
gotcha.
anything about that.
Yes, all open burning must be extinguished by 7 PM.
Can I put a complaint out with the ones by the park here who I go by at 10 o'clock and they have flames that are about 10 feet in the air?
Absolutely. The ordinance is in existence and
You wanna stop and warn him?
Just be really going.
Again,
Okay,
take the phone call.
alright, so, you've had a complaint,
Yes,
another issue.
yes.
You wanna briefly tell us about that?
I can briefly go over that. You're gonna get back to me on this?
Yes?
Okay.
You communicate with me, but also involve me in health office.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly where you're going from. Okay, you guys were all given, written statements from firefighters.
It is not executive. I did check with our lawyer, Ed, and he said although it is an uncomfortable
Yeah.
issue, that it has no right to be in executive session according to the open meeting laws.
Just wanted to make sure.
It's a contract too, so.
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah.
All right.
It puts me in a tough situation. I was not there, but it was brought to my attention. So I have to address it, so I'm gonna give you, that's why you've gotten the written affidavits from them.
Explain the whole situation and who these people are, please.
No, I'm not gonna name them because of the fact that that's not necessary to do, and,
He can just say.
some of them
that it's
don't want to be named because
Okay.
they actually work in different areas.
Okay, so
in the profession, so-
someone wrote the statement and
They-
go through the situation.
They
please.
went through a call with a full relax. Their biggest complaint, and all of them will stress you, is patient care was prolonged. It should have been taken care of immediately because they were waiting for a certain few.
Is this
people.
person on our staff, our fire department staff, or who is this person? What's,
This is with MBR.
this
MBR
person
went
works
to
for
a scene.
MBR?
Okay, MBR went to a four-wheeler accident scene
Yep.
with an injury.
Yep,
They called the fire department for assistance.
yep.
2 firefighters showed up on scene that could have provided them assistance. They were just firefighters. They were waiting for, and I'm gonna use this word briefly because I don't like to use it because when they are acting as firefighters, they know where their staff are, but they work in another ambulance service that they are EMTs in. And they were expecting them to arrive, to assist them in
So this person here is on our fire department though?
All your statements in front of you.
All of them are
firefighters.
Okay.
They all lie.
Yes.
Those were all the ones that were on the scene at that time. They all expressed complaints to me individually,
Yep.
so it wasn't a collaborative thing. So they all had, so I said, you need to write them down so I can give them to you guys so that you guys can see what it is. But their biggest thing is patient care was not provided at a necessary time because they were waiting for certain people. What ended up happening was those certain people were late on arrival, so eventually they decided that they had to do something. So they ended up using the people that first arrived on, which they could have done patient care in an earlier 10 minutes that they waited.
Okay, so
But that's
let
the whole story.
me try this.
Yeah. If not, I wanna.
MVR went to a call.
Yep.
The fire department was called
For assistance.
to assist it.
MVR did not like the people who showed up first. Is that?
They didn't, it's not that they didn't like
They weren't
that.
on their staff at the time.
It's my understanding that MVR waited for a trained EMT
Yes.
that happens to be on the fire department of Highgate
Okay.
to arrive before they treated the patient.
Okay.
But legally, when that person has a fire department uniform on, they cannot act as an EMT because we've already had this problem with another person.
Yes.
So we've already been through the legality of all this
Yes.
before. So that person couldn't act as an EMT. So there was no reason for MVR to wait.
The two people that arrived could do the same thing as what that EMT was capable of doing. Because as a firefighter, them arriving on the scene as a firefighter, they can just administer basic first aid as firefighters. That is our set rule
So-
in the fire department.
The ambulance people wanted to wait for these certain two people because right here, let's see it. They know what need to be done. We need to wait for them. Is what this one says. Okay, so it sounded like the ambulance at the time didn't have enough confidence to do what they needed to do.
You know what? As far, they did, because eventually they took the two first ones that responded, stabilized the patient and pulled traction on why they didn't do that prior to. That's where we're saying there was a lack of
urgency
towards this. And if you read down through some of those, they'll tell you the guy was screaming, they wanted to get out of the ditch, and on and on and on. I don't know.
Some of that is.
I just find that when I was reading them, because I was not on the scene, I felt a little disturbed by it. And I think it's something that the town needs to look at, address. I don't know who to talk to, but.
So, in all fairness, do you want to ask MVR to come and talk about this incident?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, to give their side. We're not taking sides. We are presenting an issue that has come up. We're asking for some confirmation and some explanation.
Because Sharon, I think right now I think MVR needs to be set straight on our policy, and I don't think they have been, our policy of we don't have first responders, which
They have. I addressed it to them 3 times.
But I think we need to sit down and discuss that, and you know, and I think you know, I don't think they believe it but when they were here before, there was first responders that always went.
This says the patient had time to have a cigarette.
What?
This one here says the patient had time to have a cigarette.
Okay, well.
Okay, so are we on agreement that we ask MVR to come and address this issue? Bruce?
Sure.
Josh? Make a motion, Richard.
I'll make a motion that we invite MVR to
Our next select board meeting?
our next select board meeting.
Okay.
And
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Heidi, can you make that happen for our next agenda, please? You
It's
can
tough
review
to,
that later.
no, it's tough to do this in regular meeting if all of the information doesn't, they don't want us to be
Right.
sent. So it's kind of like, if we're really going to discuss it, and people do not want their names
Well, part of that.
spoken, then we should do it in executive. That way we can
Yeah.
lay out the whole scene, in my opinion.
Still can't, there's still HIPAA laws and everything, even in executive, so.
Right,
So it
So-
don't really make much difference, open or executive.
The thing is they had a complaint, they felt that you guys needed to hear it. They brought it to me, my job to bring it to you,
Now
just so
we'll
that
ask.
you're aware.
So when we meet, Joe should be here?
Yep.
Yes, if you could please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna move right along, because
One question for
I'm
the
all-
chief.
You,
quickie.
Your monthly business meetings, are they open to public and/or can public get,
we don't have
Copies of
business
it.
meetings.
you don't know, you don't have them anymore?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
We dissolved our association,
Okay,
so we don't have monthly business meetings anymore.
okay.
Oh, you did away with your meeting, so legally nobody can vote because you don't make so many meetings.
Once again, we gotta renew the bylaws. Yeah.
So you got rid of your business meetings and your association meetings?
They're the same thing. No, we didn't get rid of the Monday night fire department meetings.
Right, the business meeting,
The
the
business meetings were the association
The
meetings.
the money part of your
Yeah.
fire department meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so my question still stands, are the meetings open for public to come sit in on? Do you must have,
Ty's looking for one more meeting to attend.
or some minutes to read on what's going on in the fire department is really what I'm kind of getting at.
It ain't there.
There must be regular business that happens as far as how the department's ran, whether it's money or not.
right, you still meet to have a,
Minutes should be kept because.
We don't have a sit-down meeting. That is what Ty's saying.
No, we don't have a.
So how do you do business? You just-
That's it. The way I take it, maybe I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, Joe. The way I take it is our officers are running more of the show now.
okay, I'm confused too.
Okay,
Sounds like we have a Monday night meeting,
We'll
but
talk
we don't
about
meet.
that later.
okay, perfect. I don't want to go to your meetings by any means, but that's the only way to know what's going on.
Okay, all right. We'll get back to you.
I'm moving up here now.
Yeah. Okay, Jelly. Thank you,
Bye,
Joe.
Ty.
Oh, I had a question for him. Check warrant.
Okay. Any problems
Keeping
with
it
the
real
check warrant?
quick, real simple.
Okay.
I'm all set.
I have a motion to sign.
It was kind of thick. A lot of weeks.
Or I'll make a motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm losing them.
Okay, yes, you are. We're going quick. Okay, last update I have, two actually. Auditors were here a couple weeks ago, Thursday and Friday, before the village core party that same week. Everything pretty well went very well. Jordan's coming back for one more day, and we'll finish that up. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but it's well on its way, and I feel pretty good about this year, so I'm happy. It went well, smooth. Outstanding taxes, delinquent amount not including the Jedware property, $43,182.81.
That's awesome.
So I'm hoping to get that cleared up with a tax sale right after we collect. after we're done collecting this year. We'll have hopefully a very small, if none, tax sale, but yes, that's all I got.
Door,
What?
door is leaning against the truck out there.
Oh, Luke would like the door, that used to be our front door.
Okay.
I think the auditors overheard me looking for some handles from other doors that were in the building. And then, of course, it came to the fraud and theft part of the audit.
Oh, boy.
So I just asked him to put it in front of the select board before he took it home.
Okay. Do we have any thoughts on a door?
Let him have it.
Yeah.
Open and shut.
Right. I just wanted it there.
All those in favor say, make a motion.
Make a motion to have a door.
Second it.
All right.
I have a question back on how much in the CIP for the fire truck?
351, 272.
351,
272, 351, 272.
Okay.
Just enough.
Yep. And I don't know how the grant works. If we pay less, do we get less, or do we get the full 50, no matter what?
We're only allowed to be a certain percentage. The 50,000 can only be a certain percentage. I have to check the contract.
So we might not get the full 50, so we might not have any left over from town meeting.
Okay.
That'll be dependent.
Clarify.
We'll figure that out when, yes.
As long as you have enough to do the prepayment.
Yep, we do.
That's the cash saver.
Okay. Any other questions
Yes,
for
yes.
Shelley?
Nope.
Okay. Wendy?
We have a
Sharon.
motion on the floor. and
Oh,
that's
sorry.
it. Just wanted to go out there.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Just gonna keep it official.
Yes, absolutely.
Have minutes.
So did you find him some door handles?
He brought one back for us, so we could at least lock the front office, and as you've noticed, there's still not handles on others, so.
Okay.
Okay, we have meetings from August 15th. Do I have a motion to
I'll make
accept?
that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
That's it for me, move along. This is weird.
Okay, Heidi.
Hey, Sharon.
Yes, please.
Sharon,
Yes,
can I interrupt and
absolutely.
put somebody before Heidi? It was
Sure.
It was my thing to bring her in to meet her
Yes.
and introduce, and she's been sitting here since the beginning. Is it okay?
Sure.
You want to introduce yourself and,
Yeah, I'm Samantha DeRosa. I'm the zoning administrator for the town of Highgate. And I also recently put into the lister as well, but I'm not a lister yet.
okay. Thank you. Glad to meet you. I came to one of those meetings.
Yeah, you came by me.
Yeah, well, whatever you call it.
DRB.
DRB, yeah.
Yeah. Samantha's doing a great job.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet you.
One of the only applicants I ever saw that we interviewed her that reviewed all the zoning regulations before she got the job.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
coming.
Thanks for coming.
You never thought it was gonna go this late, did you?
Makes it bad when you come to.
Okay, Heidi.
I did too.
Right? You missed all the easy ones. I'm gonna go very easy also, and this is a contract amendment. We don't have to initiate a new contract to do the work that you agreed to do on the garage, because it was offered to us as an add-on, as an option. So you agreed at the last meeting to move forward on that, so please authorize me. I think I have to
Yes.
sign that one.
What's that one for?
That is for $9,890, in addition to the original sum of $92,000, in order to redo the moldy bathroom, take out the bad tile,
Yep.
dispose of all the bad
Health
stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll make that, was that approved once, you just signed it?
Right.
Yeah, just
Okay.
have her to sign it.
And that's for what they've done
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're gonna do.
I'll make a motion for Heidi to sign it.
Okay, do I have a second?
All second it. I ain't happy about what they did out front here. I hate second stuff like that. 'Cause that looks awful. That's the worst. Whoever dreamed that up. I weren't on the select board then. Must be you.
Don't pass the buck, buddy.
I'm trying to pay attention to where I'm supposed to sign here, so.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
They'll probably hit it with the loaders, block it all up.
Okay.
okay, keep going.
Last thing for me is just a reminder that on September 17th, Dominic Cloud, St. Albans City Manager, will be coming to Highgate Planning Commission to have a presentation discussion about development strategies that they've used in St. Albans, private-public development opportunities that the Village Core Master Plan is wanting to understand best way to market that property for best highest use. So anyone interested in that should come 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 17th. And that's it.
All right, so listers update. So we had a little discussion about listers last time. So for those of you who don't know, these are our current 2 listers, Amy Reynolds and Pete St. Germain. So I did have Heidi check with Ed to see whether we were required to have 3 listers, and according to state statute, we are, unless it's been voted otherwise. So we have an unfilled position. And I'll let Amy and Peter speak to that. And Peter, if you can clear up whether you're an active lister, are you retiring, are you staying on?
Well, I am staying on till the end of my
term.
Which is 2021.
Son of a.
Not anytime soon, boys and girls.
And if I have to, I'll run again if I have to fill the position.
Thank you.
So you.
Amy, how goes the lister's office?
To me, it goes very well. We run it pretty good together, and we have 2 people that put in for the position, and one that has already voiced to us that he really doesn't want the position, but he's been told that the position needed to be filled, which no one ever came and asked us whether it needed to be filled or if we felt that it needed to be filled. If we couldn't handle the job that we were doing together, would have been nice had people done that. And Samantha DeRogie has put in for it, the girl that was here. And she currently is the zoning administrator. So we feel that currently what she does would go hand in hand with what we do. With her having to check properties and us going out to assess properties, we would all go together and we would get something that's lacking is people having, when they go to a zoning meeting, having someone go check and make sure they're compliant with what they did fill out their zoning permits for. And with her coming on the job with us and going to assess properties, she would be able to make sure that that is being done. Something that hasn't really been done. So, and she learns very quickly, and we would think she's a great asset for our department.
Now, this would be a part-time position?
Yes.
And you were both part-time positions as well?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no conflict or legal or anything like that
Many towns have zoning and lister, because they are hand in hand.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
You know that Rich Wolcott had looked into his asked to be in that position as well.
Yes,
I know
yes,
that.
we have his letter.
I know that before that, there was nobody interested in it, and he had brought it to a lot of people's attention that he'd be interested in it. So I don't think that anybody from any other board other than you guys, girls, should accept anything unless you interview. If there's 2 of them, you need to interview them and decide the choice. So if they've both been in for it, I don't know about the second lady, that was after the fact. And I will say there could have been a conflict. I had mentioned to Pete in previous, and he was quite upset about a person and voiced it very loudly. And to me, that wasn't professional for talking in front of a crowd of people. So I won't go any further with it, but I do say that it needs to be in front of the board to decide that. So if there's two people that are looking for it, all of a sudden, it needs to be brought up and have the select people do the decisions. And the other gentleman isn't here to talk about what or why, so it's not fair to the other person. Okay? But it's just a thought. If before it was been brought up, there was nobody interested in it, so it was just a thought that he would help out. So it wouldn't be fair for that gentleman to not be heard from the board.
So how many are looking to be in this appointment?
Well, there was only one originally, so now there's two.
Well, I had already talked to
No,
Richard Flint about Samantha way back
Correct.
at an abatement meeting, before Richard Wilkins ever even put his application in.
I don't
I
remember,
had
yeah, I remember, but I thought all we talked about was Richard, I didn't know nothing about
I
Sam.
didn't talk about Richard Wilkins, I talked about Sam. Remember I told you that we wanted to ask her and she would be a good fit, and you said you didn't even know who she was.
Okay, yeah, I remember that, I guess,
And you
yeah.
said, who is she? And I said, she's our new zoning administrator, she took Heidi's position, and you said, oh, I don't even know that, didn't even know her.
Yeah, but that's all it was said.
But remember I told you she was someone that we were considering for that position.
Well, I know that when it was brought up for town vote, that nobody put in for it.
No.
So it's either you wait for town vote, or if you got two people, it should be brought up and review it and make a decision to the board.
Yeah.
That would be the proper way to do it.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Mr. Wilkins invited to this meeting?
No,
No,
No.
I don't, not that I know, why would he be invited?
Yeah, Sam was only here because Richard.
wanted to
had
meet
asked
her.
Right, Richard hadn't met her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nothing to do with this.
Right, yeah, that's
Right.
was just a coincidence. The only
Normally the
reason,
listers are elected by
town vote.
town vote.
Yep.
But they got appointed by the select board.
So
Yeah, we
whoever,
don't have one.
if you guys appoint one of the two, they would still be on the ballot in March.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. It's funny,
This
nobody
is-
wanted it, and now they do, somebody
This
wants
is
it.
filling the rest of Jeff's term, which, till March.
Samantha doesn't have a vendetta, the other guy does.
How can you say that? How do you know?
Well, he
I
came
know
in and
certain-
talked to us, and he
Well,
told us that he had. no
everybody in
interest
here knows
this.
certain things. That's a pretty unsupported statement to make.
I could support it if you want to talk to them privately.
Yeah,
Well, then it's a comment you shouldn't make in public.
Well, you're gonna go to executive session to pick this person. haven't you?
I don't know if we're
no,
gonna pick
actually,
somebody.
we're going to interview both people,
Right.
just like any
I have nothing against
other.
Richard, I think Richard's a
appointment.
great guy. But Richard came into our office and he asked us about the position, and he said he was not interested in it. He said he was being asked to take this position, but it was nothing he was interested in. It takes almost 3 years to learn the lister's position completely. If someone's not really interested in it, and it is a lot of work, if I'm gonna train somebody, I want somebody that's gonna be in there for the long haul. Not somebody that's just gonna be in there for a little bit or until March and decide, well, I didn't really wanna do this in the first place. I was kind of asked to, and I don't think I'm gonna run in March. So then I've wasted however many months trying to train somebody who I could have had someone in there that's willing to stay the long haul.
Except anybody could have gotten a petition signed, anybody at all in town could have gotten a petition signed and run for Lister, and as it turns out this past year, no one would have been running against them. So,
Running against who?
anybody.
Right,
but
you said
nobody-
him.
This board's been trying to fill this position since the day after town meeting, virtually. And this is the first interest anybody's expressed in it to us. Mr. Wilkins expressed his interest first, Samantha the day after. Well,
But as I
it's-
said, Richard came into us and said he doesn't really want the position.
That's that's not the information we got from him.
I think at this point in the game
interview both.
is that we interview them and we go from there.
That's it.
Yeah, you know,
There's no more, we don't need to
Yeah.
passion it out.
hashing it out.
Shouldn't
Right.
even discuss it.
Right.
Do your meetings, interviews, and go from there. That's why we got a board.
Yeah.
Okay. So we wanted to bring those listers in so that they got to say their piece.
Yep.
That there was no he said, she said. We know that Pete is staying on for his term. So there's only one position open.
I tried last year to talk to a couple different people. They were kind of interested, but all of a sudden when it come time to get their petition, I don't think I want them, so.
It's kind of like these seats.
It happens.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So yes, we'll set up interviews with the two interested parties. In all fairness, we really should open it up to the general public and put a, something on Facebook or social media and offer that position to anyone interested to send a letter to the town clerk, say, between now and the next meeting. Is that 2 weeks? Give people, and then whoever applies will interview them all.
We also got to open it on the DRB board we're trying to fill. So should we put that out there too for everybody?
Certainly could, yes.
Try there as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe you get lucky.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a tough job, that one. You are definitely nobody's friend.
Both those positions would be tough, anyway.
Yeah.
It's not some, that's a job on the other end that people don't care about paying or getting that big
Okay.
tax bill.
So Wendy, can you please put that out that we are looking for interest? DRB doesn't have to have a deadline, but if we can do a 2-week deadline for the lister's position and whoever applies, we'll interview. We'll set up the interview next select board meeting. We'll set interviews after that. Please? Okay.
You meant you'll pick a date at your next meeting?
Correct.
You're not- okay.
Yes, we will pick a
Okay.
date at the next meeting,
We'll be here
yes.
till 11 again.
No,
How long you gotta warn that?
no, we just said 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for both coming. All right, select board items. So I'm gonna ask Mary about our lovely algae bloom. What's the scoop?
Green.
What part do you want to know? Typically, the blooms are in high prevalence during the hotter part of the season. Typically, between 11 and 3 o'clock is when you're going to see the most prevalent blooms. My struggle now is there are town people that can call it in to either myself or the health department, and then in turn, the health department notifies me. I go tag the property.
So
Then
we
I get
have,
more calls.
so we have tags out right now in Highgate?
We do. And then I get more calls that saying that it's not tagged. So what I'm finding is after I'm posting in certain areas, they're coming down. Why? I can only surmise, but I wouldn't want to say it publicly right now. But so
people, there are signs up there for the protection of people and animals.
Correct.
Do not take those signs down. They are protecting you. Leave those signs where they are. Mary goes to a lot of trouble at very little cost. Going around putting these up and trying to protect the public. That algae blooms are extremely dangerous to dogs and are dangerous to people as well. So Shipyard Bay right now.
Shipyard Bay and
Rock River?
thank you. Rock River. Rock River has stayed up without no issues.
Okay.
Shipyard and other areas up there have been coming down.
Okay, so Shipyard Bay is dangerous for swimming or taking your dog. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And
uh-huh.
how do you know when it passes?
And
Does
that has
the
happened.
state?
On the news, there was 3 dogs in one pond that had, all died
Yes.
from that. And nobody knew about it until too
The
late.
state does send out
Definitely good one.
volunteers to re-inspect areas as well as I can go and re-inspect an area. The problem with me personally is I work until 4 or 5 o'clock. So if I'm going up there at that time and I'm seeing blooms, then it's definitely still an issue because typically they're gone when the sun starts going down. So, and that's what I've been seeing, is they've been still in bloom. In fact, Rock River is like really bad.
Go walk on it.
Sad.
So we have a problem in Highgate. Leave the damn signs up so people can be aware. Look out for your
And I
neighbor.
will say at the Tyler Place buildings, they do have education on it. So even my signs up there is education that they leave up permanently. So that's been a positive this summer that I've seen as opposed to last summer.
Good, good.
So people should call you or call the
They can
town,
call
just let us know if they
can call
see.
anybody, like they can call you guys, and Wendy's very good about getting hold of me. Typically, my messages come from the state, because people have called the state, whether it be boaters, fishers, tourists.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thack Boulevard, we had tabled that until we could go and look at it. Richard, were you able to go and look at it?
I went and looked at it. You know, it looks the same I did when years ago, I took a fire truck up there, you know, when I went up there. You know, I don't know, I talked to Butch, I think we need to talk, what do you think, Butch, you know?
At the roundabout at the end, they want
You know, is it something that can be dealt with, or is it something that we need to say?
I've been around it with the truck, not in the wintertime, plowing snow, but we've gone around with the tandems and had no problem. The snow, I don't, know it'll be a real big problem. It's a little narrower than what, I think it was brought up when Pat was here.
Well, there's a
Pat had
standard and it doesn't meet the standard, right?
Well,
That is true.
that's where it
If
was
it doesn't-
designed and somebody approved the design.
Yeah, but the
So-
design's one thing. I mean, there's a standard set by the state, I would imagine. And if it meets that standard, then great. If it
Right.
doesn't, then sorry.
That's what,
And-
the guy's question is that, the town approved that design. And then it was in question, was it enough?
What, the town
With the
approved that
wing.
design to what? To take it over or just approve it to be a road?
I think it
My
was to
question.
take it over at the time, when, because they had the fire department go up there and check it all out, and
So there's gonna be minutes on that.
No, he's talking about it being approved by then, what was the planning commission?
Right.
Not that the
No.
town has ever approved to take it over.
but the planning commission sent us up there at the time that this was all going to bail. It was all, we didn't do it.
Probably just to make sure you guys can make it down there, but not to approve to take it over.
The planning commission would be out of the picture by the time it's constructed. It
Was it
was a
done?
request to take over the road that sent the fire department.
I would have to go by the state standard for whatever that is. I have
Was
no
it done to those
clue.
specs? That was my concern. And if it was done to those specs,
And then he said something about putting some stone in, or wherever there was something said. I don't know if you got the last paper we got. I left mine in the truck.
We talked about this last year, I think.
I
Yes.
do not.
Maybe in
Doesn't
your.
that cul-de-sac have green space in the middle?
Yes.
It does.
That's the
Solid,
problem.
Right, which is not to standard was my understanding.
And, yeah.
we have
I,
both.
I don't
Which
think
is-
that's what was on the
I thought
plan.
it road narrowed like crazy.
It does. It's
Yeah.
narrow and,
It's narrow.
Is that the one we talked about with those running a small truck carrier?
I don't have it.
In case you couldn't get around it?
Probably, but I mean, we can't,
Originally?
the 1-ton's not designed to plow roads.
Richard's been around with the fire truck.
Yeah.
We've been around it with the tandem, but I haven't plowed it. So I can't.
so I guess we'd wanna know what the original permit was. Was that with a green space in the center?
I just wanna know what the standard is and see if it meets that standard, I guess. It's-
Pat had determined it, didn't
I think it's been determined twice.
Yeah.
That's what I recall too.
We'll have to
Who's Pat?
pull it out
Our
again.
old public.
The last
Works
public
right.
works.
Lawyer.
Oh,
Andy King, I think, and Pat.
Okay,
I think that's what I recall too.
so can we check that and bring it back to next meeting? Is that agreeable?
yeah.
Okay.
So what, can somebody tell me what it's supposed to be from, I went over there.
The radius.
Yeah, the radius around,
That's the thing, we gotta check the standard and see what that is. I don't know what it is.
okay, so then we'll have to go over.
No, we did measure, it was all measured at one time.
Okay, so let's check, see what it was supposed to be and now whether it actually meets
Just
that.
because you drive around with a truck doesn't mean it's the right standard. 'Cause
Okay,
the only thing I got,
yes?
and I had Weatherby call me yesterday, and then I had Chief call me today, so I was really thinking I was in trouble. They're both asking what the general consensus on how they're doing, if the town's happy, if there's anything they need to work on. And I said I'd bring it up tonight and ask. I said as far as I know, everything's going good. Maybe it's worth, I don't know if we had an update from them. I know we get them in our email, but I don't know if it's an update for them to come in and just have a public forum with them and see if the public wants to ask them more questions or if there's any complaints.
Is this the only update we've got?
You have two. They've given us two so
Two.
far, July and August.
And they just really want to make sure they're doing a good job and they want
So-
to make sure taxpayers are
So
happy.
I never got August then, I just got July, I got,
I think
August
I
came up
copied it out.
today.
Yeah, I just got it today, but I think I copied it.
this says,
But it's for July.
7/2 to 7/31.
All the previous
I
ones.
thought this one said August.
Yeah, but it just came today for,
I already
Yeah,
got
like,
July.
we got emailed today.
we're September.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Okay, so,
August highway activity.
okay, so can we have that update in October to give them,
Yeah, I don't care when. I just know they asked
okay?
how we're doing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, let's pull them in for,
The only other question I had about that, I know it's freaking getting late, is weren't we supposed to get some revenue off these tickets they're writing? If some of them were like,
It's called civil fines.
yeah.
But- So every year you have to fill out a form and send it to the state. You have to tell them how much you pay for your patrol services. And the first couple of months are usually delayed with the civil fine. So I haven't seen anything for this fiscal year yet, but
'Cause I'm seeing-
neither has any other town.
Okay, because I'm just seeing like 180 traffic tickets in 1 month,
Right.
and I'm like, whoa, and then there's a couple for
I think they've gotta go
commercial
through all the
vehicles,
forms.
and I just like, I remember them saying we'd get
Yeah.
revenue off that, and
Yeah,
I just
we
want to
do.
make sure.
We
It's
do.
always in your
Yep.
Yep,
report.
that's all I got.
I just want to say that the one report that I have heard is Debbie Rouse came to the last meeting and said that they had been speeding. And she was going to call them to complain.
Debbie Rouse has been speeding?
no,
No.
police.
Boy.
So the police have been speeding.
Oh,
Yeah.
Driving fast. I'll let them know.
yeah.
I think she said she was going to call them herself.
Yeah.
So when do we get to sit down with these guys, or
So that's what we were talking about.
October?
Let's do October, like the
Okay.
first meeting in October.
Okay,
If they can't do that, we'll do the second meeting
you
in
gonna be here,
October.
Josh? You taking the night off? Okay. That's how I check.
I'm trying to make it.
Soccer season.
Yeah.
That's at least my problems right now.
Okay, any other comments?
Windows are on.
Anything,
That,
anything?
no, I got 2.5, 5 minutes,
Oh,
just to let you know.
Yes,
That the grader's back. and
Yes.
Came in a little bit under budget, or under the quote. The Western Star is out of the paint shop. The tractor's fixed. Couple large trees on the Bristol Road where maple trees were taken down. Stumps were out. Our next big job is getting our sand.
We got our salt.
Sand.
We got our salt.
We started getting the salt, yes. Keep getting it as we're getting the sand, we get it at the same time to where the shed is, I mean, 125.
Try not to load up the backside of that shed too much.